Good morning. It is 6:21. Welcome. It is Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. And guess what? It's cold. It's 30 degrees, getting up to about 43 today. It is cold out there, but not as bad as the other days. Let's get down to business. You're listening to Mornings with Bob Marrone. I am Bob Marrone. This is Radio Westchester, your radio station at the train station. Once again, 33 now degrees, getting up to 43. We will have an increase in the cloud cover throughout the afternoon, highs around 43. We'll get back to the weather in just a few moments. But here are our top local stories. A new Rochelle nonprofit was broken into. Cash is missing. We're talking about the Fuller Center for Housing. Jim Kaloran will stop by and tell us what happened there. In Mount Vernon, a deputy fire chief has been reinstated after open racist, sexist remarks. The question is, why? A Yonkers firefighter and a mom were reunited after the baby's birth. He delivered the child. Big sports news today. Eli Manning will announce his retirement tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Mets have replaced Carlos Beltran with Luis Rojas. He has been with the Mets for 13 years. They're still fighting in Washington, going back and forth. Terrible things they say about one another. Justice Roberts had to step in again and tell people that they had to get more civil. We shall see those stories and much more coming up. Knicks lost, by the way, and I wish the sports writer would stop moaning, all of the sports writers, about Derek Jeter. He got 99 votes. You know, sometimes we here in New York think we are the center of the universe. All righty. It's time to look at the weather, and the weather, of course, is brought to you exclusively by... I put stuff too far away here. Exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses, and it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit uhgc.com. And it's 33, getting up. It feels colder, though, getting up to 43 today. Our forecast, an increase in some clouds throughout. And it's clear at the moment, though. Winds will be out of the west, southwest 5 miles an hour. Now tonight, mostly cloudy but dry with lows around 30 degrees. Friday, breaks of sunshine, warmer with nights around, or rather highs around 48. The wind out of the northeast 5 to 10. Tomorrow, I'm underscoring this, a slight chance for sleet to mix with developing rain during the morning. Any sleet north and west quickly changes to rain. Again, we're not going to get even Saturday night much below 35 degrees. And on into Sunday, mostly cloudy. A high will be 43. We can use the warmer weather. Let's get into our top story today. A New Rochelle nonprofit headquarters was burglarized and cash stolen sometime overnight. This actually happened on Monday into Tuesday. The story came out late yesterday in Lohud. Hinge locks to the Fuller Center for Housing of Greater New York City, formerly Habitat for Humanity at 659 Main Street, were broken off the front door. The cash register was stolen, and a safe was broken into with $2,000 in cash missing. Jim Kaloran, the head of the Fuller Center, hopes that this is a catalyst for neighborhood discussions and a possible neighborhood watch. He went on to tell the press and police that they are working on it, and he appreciated it, but it's painful anytime something like this happens. He said, especially when we try to do so much for the community. Kaloran said that his upcoming Sunday afternoon event to collect supplies for troops is still on at 12:30. Meanwhile, detectives are reviewing potential video evidence, and anyone with any information is asked to call Detective Stephen Perry at 654-2282. That's 654-2282. We look a little south now to Mount Vernon. This story out of News 12 today. Mount Vernon's deputy fire chief has returned to the job 90 days after being suspended without pay for making racist and sexist remarks. Deputy Fire Chief El Farid Salahuddin was suspended after he and Fire Lieutenant Irvin Oakes were heard in a 32-minute audio recording sent to News 12 anonymously speaking out about topics. And a lot of this has to be hyphenated and redacted, folks, but the conversation was recorded in the firehouse, and the two were caught making sexist and racist remarks about council people, Deputy Fire Chief Tom Duffy. And the conversation also alluded to members of the department having criminal backgrounds and dirty politics among union leaders and political figures. Fire department officials have never commented on the recordings, but city officials say they are committed to enhancing workforce training. A lot needs to be said about this, and we'll be getting a hold of our friends at Black Westchester Magazine to discuss that issue. Why was he reinstated? Should he have been reinstated? And not that we're for condemning people for one offense, but are people being treated equally? A great question in this era. It is 6:29. Once again, our top story this morning, the Fuller Center for Housing break-in, and Jim Kaloran is here. We'll be talking with him in about 10 minutes' time or so. Michael Iacovello did not have time for rookie mistakes. This is a nice story coming out of LoHUD today. The probationary firefighter was working his first tour in Yonkers on January 14 when he found himself helping a woman give birth, and so he did. In fact, it's kind of sweet. I'm looking at a picture. He's holding the baby now. With the baby girl's father not at home at the time, Iacovello cut the umbilical cord and helped welcome Obadina Somde Bouquet Abogai. I kind of got through it, into the world. And in fact, the harder thing may have been to pronounce the name than delivering the baby. All right, well, God bless him. God bless the baby. And we move on. We move on to sports. Believe it or not, we have to go to sports early, or at least the breaking stories. Eli Manning, the man who, this is personal, I know, brought me back to football. This out of News 12 and many, many other outlets today. The papers are full of it, so to speak. He led the New York Giants to 2 Super Bowls in a 16-year career. He said yesterday that he would formally announce his retirement tomorrow. The recently turned 39-year-old's future had been in doubt since the end of the season. Meanwhile, his contract with the Giants expired after this recent 4-12 season, and there was little chance he would be returning after losing his long-time starting job. And we'll be talking about him when we open up the phones a little later in the program. Well, you know what they say, one door closes, another one opens up. The New York Mets are finalizing a multi-year agreement with quality control coach Luis Rojas to make him the team's manager. This and 12 and other outlets as well. Obviously staying in-house to replace the ousted Carlos Beltran. This, according to General Manager Brody Van Wegenen yesterday. Rojas would take over for Beltran, who left the Mets last week before managing a single game as part of the fallout from the Houston Astros sign-stealing scandal. The 38-year-old Rojas is the son of former Montreal Expos and San Francisco Giants manager Felipe Alou and the brother of ex-big leaguer Moises Alou. The former minor league manager has been with the organization since 2007, but had never coached in the majors before joining Mickey Callaway's staff. And this guy's considered to be a terrific baseball guy, a very bright fellow, and we wish him well. It is 6:32. Some bus commuters in Bergen County and Rockland County will have to find a new way to get to New York City after the Port Authority severed ties with the carrier. This out of LoHUD today. Starting tomorrow, Saddle River Tours will no longer operate on 2 routes that run between Rockland County and the Port Authority George Washington Bridge Station. The Port Authority last week terminated the agreement with the bus carrier, citing an ongoing pattern of prolonged financial delinquencies, non-responsive communication, and recent abandonment of service commuters over the past 2 years. And the routes combined served about 200 customers each weekday. They're saying now, though, that riders can use buses run by Westwood-based Rockland Coaches, part of Coach USA Transportation, as we pass through 6:32. I put this story in because I'm a hockey fan, and it's interesting. You know, we all go to sports events, and they have, now everyone seems to have a mascot. Well, in Philadelphia, they have this new mascot called Gritty. Well, Gritty is being fined. Police are investigating whether the popular mascot punched a teenage fan in the back of a season ticket holder event. According to the report, Chris Greenwell and his 13-year-old son attended the event and snapped a photo with one of the most popular mascots in all sports. He says his son playfully patted Gritty on the top of the head, and as soon as the son walked away, Gritty punched him as hard as he could. Well, we'll look into that. But I've seen some of these kids do that. Who knows? I mean, even if the kid punched him, he shouldn't have punched him back. Or maybe he was just playing. But I just thought we'd lighten the tension. Gritty's the name of that. All righty. Just a couple of things about the impeachment trial, and then we will move on to a couple of other items in the news locally and nationally, and then we'll get to Jim Kaloran. First of all, Jay Sekulow, one of the president's attorneys representing him in the trial, shut down the idea of Trump appearing at his trial. That made sense. Clinton did not go to his either. Asked about Trump's remarks earlier Wednesday, where he noted his counsel may advise against appearing, Sekulow smiled, quote, his counsel's right. He said that's not the way it works. I mean, presidents don't do that. Meanwhile, President Trump says he doesn't want John Bolton to testify in his impeachment trial because he knows some of my thoughts. So that's just, many people did not know how to interpret that. President Trump told reporters this on Wednesday that he was opposed to it because of that. He says he knows what I think about leaders, what happens if he reveals how I feel about another leader, and it's not positive. It would make the job a lot harder. Bolton is a first-hand witness to the president's efforts to strong-arm Ukraine into pursuing investigations that would be politically beneficial to him while he withheld military aid and White House meetings for the Ukraine president. If the Senate allows Bolton to testify, he would be the highest-profile witness against the president to date. And a couple of other stories. Somehow I missed these. I put this one out of order, so you will forgive me. This out of Middletown, and we did the story yesterday. A 19-year-old suspect has been arrested in a fatal stabbing up in Orange, according to this story in News 12. Police say they got a call about a domestic dispute involving a knife around 6 p.m. Tuesday. Upon arrival, they found one Roy Boyd, 17, lying on the sidewalk. He's since passed away. And the accused or perpetrator, all we have right now is a last name of Johnson. Johnson Royer, rather, has been charged with criminal mischief for throwing an object through a window of Johnson's residence. But enough is said, though, that Johnson is charged with murder. He pleaded not guilty to the charges in Middletown court and made no comment. So we shall see where that goes. And lastly, I'd love to tell you that there's a new iPhone 11 or a new iPhone 12, or there's a new number 5G, 6G, 7G, fork up $1,500, and the phone will walk your dog for you. Well, not quite. In fact, this story is a little bit alleviating of all that. Apple's supply chain has been mobilized to begin production of, now get this, a new low-cost iPhone. I thought that was a contradiction in terms. But according to this story in News 12, Toyota will voluntarily recall 3.4 million vehicles around the world due to a potential, what? This is a separate story. The two, when I printed it, merged. But anyway, they're looking to do this new cheap cell phone, and they'll have an announcement in the next few days. Now, I wonder what cheap means. Does that mean $800 instead of $1,100? It's like affordable housing. Don't worry, we're putting affordable housing in the downtown. For a mere $2,100, you can have a closet. Now, of course, come on, folks. This is a little bit of humor here, an attempt at making light. As the great Albert Einstein said, all things are relative, not relevant, relative. And yes, this was a separate story. Toyota will voluntarily recall 3.4 million vehicles around the world due to a potential electronic defect that could result in airbags failing to deploy. Here's what we ought to do. All these millions and millions of failing airbags, we should get the man or woman or the group of people responsible for that, put them all in a Toyota or a Nissan or one of the cars they did it to, and drive them off a cliff. People who endanger the lives of millions of people ought not to be let out in civilized society. And we go back to one other story that I needed to cover. As I said when I did the last one, it was out of order because I guess I wasn't paying attention. But I wanted to put this in the piece about last night. The Senate's still reeling from combative exchanges between the House impeachment and the president's defense team that triggered a rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts. Roberts, who is presiding over the trial, called for decorum in the early hours Wednesday, saying it is appropriate for me to admonish both the House managers and the president's counsel in equal terms. And some of the language, in fact, I got text from some of you last night, some of the language by both sides, in fact, this time the Democrats were just saying the most horrible things about the president, even when he was running for office, and using the most harsh language to describe a sitting president. And just both sides, although both sides are really not playing towards impeachment, they're playing towards the next election. We have to take another look at the weather, talk about the lineup for today, one or two other comments, and then we're going to talk with Jim Kaloran, the Executive Director of the Fuller Center for Housing. It is 6:39. You're listening to Mornings with Bob Marrone. I am he. This is Radio Westchester, the radio station at the train station. You can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope. You can go to iTunes Radio. A lot of people these days are going straight to radiowestchester.com, or they're downloading the MyTuner Radio app and then putting my little face there, or the icon for, if you want to frighten the kids, or the icon for Radio Westchester, and listening on their phones and through Bluetooth in the car. Let's take a quick look at the weather. 33 degrees, getting up to 43. That's pretty good at some point today. It's clear right now, but it won't stay that way. It will cloud up just a bit tonight, mostly cloudy but dry. Lows around 30 degrees, so that's the low. So that's not too bad the way it's been lately. I've been wrapped up like a caterpillar in a cocoon at night. Friday, breaks of sunshine, warmer with highs around 48 degrees as we get a nice warmer Friday for you. Saturday, a slight chance for sleet to mix in with developing rain during the morning. Any sleet north and west, please. Don't go running out to buy bread. Don't call Jim Kaloran to come to your house with groceries. It's not going to be a big storm, okay? And then we go into Sunday, high with temperatures 43 degrees. Let's take a look at the lineup today. And we have a busy show, and we're really great to have Jim Kaloran come in today. We are sorry about the circumstances, but it is good to see you. And folks, for a change, I'm going to make fun of what he's wearing, but you'll get to see it in our new cameras. He looks like a street lamp. Wearing all his ET phone home. So he'll be with us just before 7 o'clock in a few minutes. Vince Russo at 7:20. John Bailey, our man in White Plains, comes in today. Then we'll be talking with Megan Soa. She is one of these wellness experts. She's going to be talking about some products from Nature's Bounty, but we're going to put it to the test. How much of this stuff, what does it do? Can it really help me? Has it been tested by the FDA? How much of it is voodoo? You know how we like to hold those people to account, but if this stuff can help you, we want you to know about it. We moved Al Tarantino from yesterday to today. He is your city councilman from District 2. At 8:35, we'll talk with Andy Spano for 30 minutes. A lot going on. The budget in Albany, the impeachment in Washington, and me losing my mind right here in New Rochelle. And at 9 o'clock, we're going to be talking with the people from Choice, a very interesting woman, their top person who goes out, doing the kind of work of love that Jim Kaloran does. What she does is get homeless people on the street. She literally goes out and does direct intervention and gets them help. And this is a woman who quite accomplished, former police officer, who does that kind of wonderful work for Choice. Now, I need to cover a couple of things, and then we'll bring Jim Kaloran to this seat right here. Why don't you sit right here, Jim? I want people to see what they're up against. And let me see. I would ask our behind-the-scenes, look at that, director, to get rid of those parallel lines. But there you are. You see yourself, Jim, in yellow?
Oh, that's me. I didn't know I was the one in
He
yellow.
looks like a lemon. All right, take a seat. We'll get to you in a little while, James. I did want to do the Knicks story. Well, the Lakers came into the Garden, LeBron and company, And they smacked the living daylights out of the Knicks by a score of 100-92. LeBron James was talking about how wonderful it is to come to New York. How could he not? He said it's a nice place to visit, more or less, but he wouldn't want to live here. I'm looking at all my various notes that I have a couple of other items to share with you. I got an interesting statistic for you, and this was compiled by one of the guys that produces for us, Jake Schaefer. You know him. He's the great prognosticator. He each week of football games. Yeah, he has a little crystal ball. Listen to this, and this is in January of the last. All the presidents since I was alive. God, I'm alive too long. No, don't. God, I don't mean too long.
Longer.
Yeah, but all right. This shows how in an election year what the approval rating was of the individual in January, as it is now in the election year. And we're going to start with Eisenhower. 76%. We all know he was a beloved guy. LBJ after the assassination. No, not bad. 76%. Yeah. George W. Bush. Oh, no, this is George H.W. Bush. Probably the most capable president we've had. 59. Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, 58. Ronald Reagan, 55. Wow. Harry Truman, 50. Nixon, 49. Obama, 47. Bush, W now, W. Bush, 46. Bill Clinton, 46. Gerald Ford, 46. And Donald Trump, 43. And folks, please remember Donald Trump still won. So what these mean, more or less, it's any person's guess, but it's kind of interesting how there's generally no relationship to that. Now, when we talk a little later with Andy Spanner, we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at the budget as well. And one of the concerns we took out of the paper from yesterday, Governor Cuomo unveiled plans to reduce the state's looming $6.1 billion deficit by forcing New York City and other local governments to rein in Medicaid spending. Cuomo's budget for $178.6 billion would also slash nearly $2 billion in state aid to the city and the 57 other counties around the state. And again, he's putting a commission together. Now, one of the reasons these gentlemen or ladies, when they're in power, put a commissioning together, this way they can say, I didn't do it. We used to, in corporate America, we did that too. We put a committee together. The committee said, not me. And it's like when you send the Rottweiler out to get the mailman. I didn't do it. The Rottweiler did. Jim Caloran's over here popping away. Put on your mic in a minute. Okay, now the expected boost in state education aid would drop. It was originally thought to be a 4% increase, but it's dropped to 3%. Our schools waste so much money anyway. I'm not worried about it. And besides, all they'll do is they'll use the money to put in some system to let you go free, even if you burn down a building at this point. I've lost so much respect, Jim, in the 15 years I'm doing this.
Tough time for schools.
For the far left and what they've done to our schools. New York City schools would still score $321 million to graduate idiots. Oh, God, I love doing this stuff. All righty, what else did I have? A couple of little small clips, and then we get to Jim Caloran right after a very quick commercial break. The world's countries, now get this is debt. Talk about debt on a national scale. The world's countries owe $253 trillion. That's 322% of the world's economic production. Oh, and by the way, here at the United States, we've passed the 100 mark. We now owe more money annually than we produce. Wow. 102% of the country's GDP is our debt. And new research has found that the state-level increases of $1, just a $1 in minimum wage, were tied to 3 to 4 to 5.9% decrease in suicide rates among people between 18 and 34. Now, you can take any two stats and correlate them. Now, before you get too critical of this, folks, people that run hedge funds do this all the time. We do this in Wall Street all the time. We can look and one of the geeky quants that we hired, they can figure out the correlations between the two. So you can probably go with that. And something we'll be talking about later in the week. very troubling story here in Business Week. And we have a lot of analysis to do, but they have photos here. It's about 50 photos. How the Catholic Church, so iconic in all these years and hopefully can get back up on its feet, how they're selling off church after church after church to deal with the crisis and the economic downturn from it. All righty, you're listening to Radio Westchester. This is Radio Westchester. It is 6:48. Let's take a look at who will be sponsoring the bottom of the hour. We're going to come back and talk with Jim Calora, the Executive Director of the Fuller Center for Housing. As you know, the bottom of the hour, supported by the United Hebrew of New Rochelle, a top-rated campus of senior care, Aging Issues Management, and their subsidiary, Aging Issues Radio. They did their show last night right here at these studios at 6 o'clock. You can go to our website, or you can go to Aging Issues Radio website and catch that show. Dominic's Fine Cigars. Dominic's Fine Cigars, a retailer. 7 days they were open. They're right here in Larchmont, and plug-in virtual reality. And as we take another look at the weather, brought to you exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses. It is 33 degrees right now, getting up to 43 today. It'll be clear now, cloudy tonight, getting down to 30 Friday. Breaks of sunshine, warmer with highs around 48. The wind out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Friday, pretty much the same. Saturday, a slight chance of some sleet. Don't get your knickers in a twist. It's not going to be a big problem. And now we go to someone we haven't met with for a while as we come in on 6:50. He's the Executive Director of the Habitat for Humanity. He's visited us here at our new location. Excuse me, I know, Jim. You don't yell at me later. What used to be the Habitat for Humanity and is now the Fuller Center for Housing. We called him up last night because our top story last night, as we were preparing the news and on into the morning, saddened us. The Fuller Center for Housing, again, that Jim has run for a couple of years now, or he morphed it from his old Habitat for Humanity your affiliation without skipping a beat.
Right, and that was our goal, thank God.
Well, let me get your mic on first. Without further ado, we do the introduction first. He is, as you look at your screens, he is the man in yellow. Good morning, Jim Calora. It's good to see you again.
To be here, man. I miss seeing I have an affectionate term for you.
Elf.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Jim.
And you and I have done a lot together. You know, it's bittersweet to come in on a negative note. I want to thank the New Rochelle Police because I know they're going to do a great job in catching. It's almost, as you know, humor is in the stories that you read every day. And
well, I try to keep it in there.
I mean, it was a van that drove up. And we have cameras, and so the police are on the hot wire of the trail of what's going on. It actually, I can't divulge everything.
No.
But it's really an interesting and sad, but interesting way that something that it happened in New Rochelle. That's all I'm going to say right now, because it could be beyond New Rochelle. And that's all I'm going to say right now. But, it's painful for me, who's been on Main Street. I remember you and I, when we did we're talking about
we
doing
did so many different
the New Year's
Santa
Eve
Claus,
thing.
New Year's Eve, first night, Santa Claus.
In the floods of Marrone. We're still.
That's when I met you.
Yes, and you saw the
you
chicken
were
legs.
knee deep in chicken legs in what is it, the Sheldrake? Which river? The Sheldrake? Which one was it? The which river was it?
It was on Sheldrake and
the
Mamaroneck.
Sheldrake.
On Howard Avenue.
Pulling a shopping cart out of the river.
Andy Spano met me over there too with Hillary Clinton, and that was
that's how I got my first radio award that day. One of my early days. When
I was still looking for credits for that. I never got a
no,
credit.
well, here's what happened.
By the way, I thought Tom from Pelham was going to be named the Mets manager. Apparently not, though.
Tom from Pelham is all upset because of his Islanders. He's all upset because of the impeachment. No, but I remember you pulling water or stuff out of the water. And as you recall,
still do.
I got a classic rookie luck. Because the church was so flooded, remember the
Right.
Secret Service chose
The Baptist
newsmen.
Church.
Yeah, they chose newsmen just a couple at random.
And you
So
came
they
in with
brought
me, I think.
Yeah, there was,
with Hillary and Andy.
And they brought me and a cameraman from News 4 in, and that was it.
Right.
So I got Hillary Clinton alone, and where I got lucky was that sounds terrible, but I was impressed with her, and that always bothers people. It was an incident.
Very nice
She
to
was
meet
terrific,
one-on-one.
very
Yep,
smart.
Yep.
And,
I've been with her a couple of times.
And where we got lucky, we had just asked her
And Bill.
as a news outlet back at WVOX. Where we got lucky was we just asked her, has the president made it a national disaster yet?
Right.
And George Bush called her literally right there while we were there.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
pretty
amazing,
cool.
huh?
Yeah. But that's where I met
God's
you.
timing.
And
Yep.
you've been doing this kind of work.
Well, we brought because
for
of
a
that
long
I brought
time.
9,000 volunteers to Hurricane Sandy, and now we're beyond Westchester. So we've worked in the Bronx already. We've worked in Long Island. We have a piece of land in Rockland we're looking at. So it's beyond. We're kicking off a campaign 2020 One New York campaign. Let everyone have a roof over their head. I commend the choice doing outreach to the homeless. I was down with the homeless Sunday morning in Manhattan, where I actually came out of that whole Lower East Side working. Remember
Well, that's where you started
Tompkins
here in
Square
this
Park,
region,
yeah,
right?
and then before that in Newark. So, but really, I want to thank the Rochelle Police. There were some other businesses that were vandalized as well right around us, and that didn't really hit the news as much as us. But
Do you know if they were vandalized at the same time, or
So,
is this some sort
no.
of a systemic?
well, there was one report of some equipment taken. I just found out yesterday from an adjacent business, and then there was graffiti put on 3 businesses. So, as you know, we want this to be the best year on Main Street ever. I love Main Street. I love the small businesses. I love New Rochelle. I love our history. And this is for everybody's interest, that we have a better, more secure, safer, more fun downtown. And so I have a great relationship with a lot of the local police and the local firefighters, and I commend them. So it's always painful, though, because no matter, I'm Mr. Optimist, but, we work hard. The store... And it shows you, even the robbers love our store.
That's a good way to look at it.
So, you always try to see.
Folks,
Marketing, I try. So, but really, people come. We just got 12 pallets of tile. We have brand new mattresses.
You always have brand new mattresses.
Yeah, people, they go out like hotcakes. 12 pallets. We have art pieces. Remember, over the last 3 weeks, there were stories about prints that were found in stores like ours that sold for $200,000. So we have dealers that come in every day. We have people from New Canaan, Bronxville, Brooklyn.
We
have producers
do you still
come
get producers come
every
in
day.
to get furniture
Every day.
for their sets?
For the CBS show, we got everything from Boardwalk Empire. So it's really a fun place to visit. 659 Main Street, and we want all of you to come and support us.
I want to back up on a few things because we haven't seen
Right.
you for a while.
Yeah,
Of course,
so-
we'll get to this event you got going
And
on
this
on
is
Sunday.
a big Martin Luther
Let's-
King week for us,
Yes,
which
but
is real.
let's go back for a
Yeah,
second
yeah.
because I want people. Can anybody help in what happened and the losses that you sustained last week?
Certainly, if they want to make a donation on our website, fullercenterny.org, we're going to have a fun, every day we're there, a fun event, sending our care packages to soldiers, which is our 6th annual event that we've done, where we send them overseas, and Bob's got a care package list, and we have, that's going to be 12:30 on. The Interreligious Council is volunteering with us Sunday, Bill.
Okay, because it says here Sunday, January 26, 1:30 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay, donations appreciated, including Valentine's supplies. Oh, I didn't think you cared,
Yes.
Jim. To create cards for those service overseas. A $10 donation gets you a free 50/50 raffle ticket.
Right, and then we have what you can bring toothpaste. So what we've done,
here's the list.
We send it to people so that the soldiers can get it for Valentine's Day. And Michelle, who's a wounded warrior, my assistant.
Yeah, she works for
And then
you,
I have a
right.
Vietnam vet, Jim Lasso, who's on the board. We have a very close relationship. This weekend for Martin Luther King, we worked up in Mohegan Lake on an Iraq vet's house that we've just insulated. He got MS lesions from an IED, PTSD. His wife, 2 little kids. They had no heat in the house because it was one of those summer house bungalows.
Sure, well, up there they have a lot of
We
that.
insulated the whole thing. I get insulation for free. So there's a lot of stuff people don't know about. So this crisis is an opportunity, which I appreciate, Bob, to talk about Fuller Center NY. There are 50 of us that turned over, to become Fuller Centers. We built 6,000 homes since 2005. I was one of the founding board members. Millard Fuller, if you ask Joe Delfino or John Spencer or Phil, a lot of mayors met him. You'd realize
Back
why,
in the day, yeah.
right, why he inspired And Bill Clinton said when he came to our event in Chapua, he said, Miller was such a great guy, and
you're doing your good
well,
great guy. Good invitation.
Well, I think I might be his. No, I'm not going to say. Anyway,
what you I might be his son. No, don't go there.
He knows I was kidding with him and
my
Hillary.
guest is Jim Kalora, and
a lot of people say I look like him. So
my guest is Jim Kalora, and he's the executive director of the Fuller Center for Housing here in New Rochelle. But it's of course for the greater New York City area. Many of you know him, of course, and you also know him from his days with the Habitat for Humanity.
Right.
He changed affiliations, but does the same work.
And we want Habitat to be blessed.
No, I know you do.
If someone comes and says, because Bob, you talk about everyone's talking about affordable housing every week now, because people are leaving, and we want it to be successful for everybody.
I don't know if your ears were ringing yesterday about 9 o'clock. We have and you may have heard him from time to time on the air. Harlan Ullman was on with us.
Right.
We also
brilliant guy.
I finally decided to talk a little bit about global warming, et cetera. And he was talking about some of the cities that are going to be underwater and they have to build houses differently.
Yeah, Miami, Boston.
And I brought up how you built some houses over here in Mamaroneck on stilts. Are people starting to do that yet?
Right. If you live by the water, you should. And that became code and lifting up the houses. So
plus you can fish off your porch.
You could fish and you could float if you want. So either one is good.
I want to do something. I have plenty of time with you. But folks, listen to this. Just
by the way, I want to go back to rotary phones.
No, I'm going to have you do. Yes, I don't even want to talk about cell phones. Give me, I hate them.
I know.
They're a necessary evil, but I hate them. Food, folks, that they're looking to collect. I just want to go through some of these.
Thank you.
Let's say beef jerky, peanut butter, nuts, protein bars, pudding cups, salsa, gum, instant coffee, Slim Jims, jelly, sunflower seeds, microwave popcorn. These are things that you can get for troops. Cheese spread, Crystal Light and Kool-Aid mixes, hot chocolate, ramen noodles. Ramen noodles are cheap. That's why those restaurants make so much money.
I know.
$3 for a
like
box, and they sell it for $10. And trail mixes, dried fruit, candy bars, hard candy, Gatorade powder, instant oatmeal, cereal bars, and chips. Oh, Lord. Hard containers like Sprinkles, but I am a victim for the best. May God bless the people that make. What's the famous one with the owl?
Sprinkles? No,
the regular chips.
Oh, Wise.
Those are my favorites.
Yes. And did you know that the chips were made up in Saratoga? I just read that yesterday.
Is that where they were first made?
Where someone ordered French fries and they didn't like them; they were too thick, and they kept sending them back. So much.
Are you serious?
A gentleman who was African American.
This is the evolution of the potato chip.
And so he got it so thin that the restaurant customer was so happy, and then that became So don't worry if someone says bring it back. You might invent a new food.
Well, that's one thing. I went on a diet, lost 20 pounds. Got to lose. Well, I gained 5 back over the holidays, but I got to lose another 10.
No, you're good.
But the problem is I can't stop eating potato chips. All right, toiletries, sunscreen, hand sanitizer, conditioner, disposable razors, and folks, they're cheap. For $1, you get 10 of those little yellow razors, toothpaste, dental floss, cold medications, Q-tips, nail clippers. This is all affordable stuff. Chapstick, antibacterial
and
wipes.
it's a fun event, Bob, because it's kid-friendly. They can come and help pack.
Advil, cough drops, cotton balls. Who knew? Lotion. Baby wipes, very handy. You can wipe your face. You're out there in the bush, whatever. Facial soaps, aftershave, body power, antacids, Kleenex, facial masks, insect repellents, no aerosol, toothbrush, shampoo, deodorant, nail file, eye drops, foot powder. Oh, yeah, I guess there's women out there now. Feminine hygiene products. Now, just a few other things. I'm almost done. Handheld electronic games. That's cool. Magazines. They have stuff. Get magazines. They're cheap, folks. Buy some good book. What about books? Word puzzle books, football, soccer ball, bath towels, foot warmers.
And a soldier will be opening this if you donate that. Just think, that, we hear about the suicide rates. We have such a commitment, and we're honored to. And I'm often called by the veterans organizations. There were 2 mayors that called me this week to help in different cities in the North County. And people don't realize all that because you just see the store and you say, what? But we cover a lot of territory. I don't have a big PR machine. I've done this 7 days a week for 30 years. I'm getting a little tired, but I have leaders coming. I'm going to dedicate this segment to Mary Bonner, who passed away.
Mary Bonner,
friend of yours, and Sarah. 30 years, 30 years on Main Street, 6 days a week. And the small businesses, as you know, I was with Denise from Habib's last night. I was with Alvin. The small businesses of every community are the heart and soul. Now, here's a funny one. Bezos' cell phone was hacked.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's so good. So I'm saying, look, I'm not a big one for buying online. Go support your local businesses, even if it costs more. You're still going to have a main street, and we have the most historic main street in the country. I would go
One
again.
of them.
I would go toe to toe with anybody, and I love it. I'm in the old library that I still got to have you show you.
You're still there. Your office.
I have a
is still
small
there across
office
the street?
there. I was fortunate when I got the call from my staff. I was on the way to David Stern's memorial service at Radio City.
I heard it was terrific.
Magic Johnson spoke.
I heard Magic Johnson brought down the house.
He cried. We all cried. He said, David Stern, God rest his soul. And they
called him an angel?
Yes, good memory. And good, you heard a lot then.
No, I do my prep.
Yeah. And he said that, he saved my life. And because he hugged me and he didn't ask me to leave the NBA, and he brought me on the dream team, and a team from Australia. He said because of that, it probably saved thousands upon thousands of lives and debunked the myth about AIDS. And he said, I want to cry too, because he is a guy that we all watched, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there, Mao Yang.
I heard.
Yeah,
it
was. I went with a local CEO from Mount Vernon, who's a great friend from the Scarsdale Synagogue, where my wife used to work too.
Is that? I didn't know your wife worked at the
God
Scarsdale
rest her soul. Yeah, she was a devout Christian who worked at the synagogue.
She had to be married to you.
Oh no, she was more than me. More than me.
Sainthood.
She was just.
Did she wear sunglasses? As you can see, Jim likes to wear very bright colors, folks.
Diana. Well, this was the safety green that saved us from getting hit from the Army trucks out in Hurricane Sandy when they were going up and down the roads. And all my volunteers, you'd see a line of ducks going down the street. We were going to move the sand.
You know I like puns. What do ducks like to eat?
I don't know what.
Quackers.
That's good. We could get quackers for the soldiers too.
My guess
I'm going quackers here, folks.
Well, my favorite. See, and you always forget this. I do this to you every year. No,
tell me,
my favorite pun.
Yes.
Every year I do it, and every year you forget. Even though you play Santa Claus every year.
Oh,
where does Santa Claus bank his money? Where does he put it?
Fairbanks?
Snowbank.
Snowbank.
Oh, yeah.
That was Fairbanks.
It's terrible, I know.
Well, and that's part of what I love Main Street. You've seen me. You might have seen me dressed up as Santa Claus or as the Easter Bunny.
It's the one time we get.
It is really scary. I have music on Main Street.
A 6'3" bunny. It's just a wonderful thing.
And you got to still have a lot of great businesses. So support wherever your Main Street is.
Hey,
come to 659 Main after 10. And
Coromandel may close. I heard.
There's been some.
I heard.
That whole Division Street has been really. Had some challenges. They did
because of the parking.
That's what they say.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get into the. That's a lengthier conversation, but and the little, I call it the Fred Flintstone shuttle. It's cute. That goes around, picks people up, and drops them off for free.
Oh, you've had that idea for years.
Right. It was right. Thank you, and I appreciate that. But Dinah Brew came in, which is a good young gentleman who started a brewery in Mount Vernon.
Oh, I was going to say, is Dinah Brew his name?
He's married to Dinah Shore.
Dinah Brew.
It sounds like a good, tough name.
No, it does.
And
Dinah Brew.
He was the one that hit Gritty, and they had a fight in the hockey game. He was... that's a good place, but there was about 6 businesses that left Division Street.
Well, in fact, we have Al Tarantino coming on later today, and some others. There's the biggest problem that we're running into is because of all the construction.
Right.
It's very hard to park. It's very hard to get.
We're kind of like in the other end, which doesn't have those construction challenges.
But
Though Ciro is building next to the Huguenot.
He is building down there.
And we know great people at 360 Huguenot. Their management people are great. We're doing some stuff together. So it's we have an amazing Main Street, and the key is to keep the gifts. And Al's business is historic.
Yeah, Al's is one
for
of the
years,
destination
like
businesses
Liebman's
in the downtown
was.
Is right.
And Liebman's is, but
But Liebman's is moving. They're not going away, but I think they're moving. I don't know where they're moving.
Right. I mean, I don't know. 30 years, here's what you want to do. You want to get businesses that are going to bring people with their parents and their kids to come downtown.
And they have to be experiences now.
Now
Like you
they're-
mentioned the brewery. People love these breweries.
Right.
What
I mean, you
goes
don't
on
want
at
to
these
to
breweries?
bring the kids to the brewery.
No,
but
no, no. But I mean, what goes on at these breweries? that
So it's
people
kind
always
of
talk
like a
about them?
trendy. You taste a different type of
Whatever happened, just a can of
peanut
Rango.
butter, Peanut butter
beer?
the days of Schlitz are over. You and
No,
I
no.
were and,
No,
and,
but, all right,
and Black
a
Label.
Bud Light, for God's sakes. I mean, I gotta go to
No,
but it's
everything.
good. The millennials love it.
Watermelon brew.
Excuse me.
Gritty would hit that person if they would.
Watermelon
I'm kidding.
brew?
I'm making it.
Are
up.
you kidding?
I'm making it up.
I have to give up my man card.
They
Watermelon brew.
It's fun. They have a good. I don't drink, but the guys running it is a nourish, and it's
don't drink much either.
and you look at like the wooden spoon who named it after a door that he got and made a table out of it.
Is that right? The
Oh, yeah.
wooden spoon?
Yeah, the
See, I
fire.
wouldn't have named anything a wooden spoon because it's too easy to make
He
fun
took
of,
a
like
door.
the greasy spoon.
We have about 20.
It's done very well, by
20
the way.
businesses that have supplies from our restore.
Did you make his tables?
No, he took a door from us.
It's adorable.
Put the spoons in the bevel, Doorable. I'm trying to keep up the. Put the spoons in it, shellacked it, and put legs on it, and it's a wooden spoon table.
I didn't know. It's a pretty. What's a nice little place.
Lou at the Curtain Shop has a great conference table from us. There's a lot of businesses and people, so it's really a way, especially as.
Well, you've done all kinds of things like that. Tables and different
Yeah,
things.
and we have
parks,
our first February builders camp. You know, the big push, as you've seen, 250,000 less college students this year in school have applied for college. The push for trades is just big everywhere. We've always been saying get everyone, whether you're GED or PhD, everyone should learn to pick up a hammer.
A PhD?
Well-
a PhD in hammering.
Yes. Well, I mean,
think of you every time I try and do something around the house and destroy it. I really need to go to your builder's class.
we take all ages. So
no, right, there he goes.
we do.
It didn't take him
No, I
long.
was-
You've
we have
managed. Let's
adults.
see. He's here 35
I did
minutes.
not say he was 7 years young.
No,
only in mentality.
No, you mentioned so far my age, my height came up. All right, fine.
I am
Turkey
just.
leg.
It's been chicken legs. I know he's going to go to the. I hit it before you came in here. I was in here. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Oh my God, Fuller Center NY. By the way, as he tries to find the hat that will make me famous. There you go. That's appropriate. That's. I taught you to do that. You know that.
No, these are Jim's pants.
Oh my God, that's it. Chicken legs. But so anyway, come revisit Main
I
Street
can't believe you hid that.
Sunday. And I didn't. I'm kidding. I did. Sunday will be that great thing for soldiers. Come down today, revisit Main Street. Thank you for all the police, and also it's about. I'm going to have a meeting for anyone that wants to join you. And if anyone needs help on their home, you can call 406-3357.
Give it out a second time.
406-3357. Many people need help on their homes. We really go and triage quickly from Yonkers to Mohegan Lake to the Bronx. We've helped a lot of people. And I don't have it on social media, but all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, Fuller Center NY, we have only just begun. This is not a competition. This is a collaboration. We want everybody on Main Street to win. What I go through, and I'm always just grateful to God that no one is ever hurt. That's my first thing, because I've seen people hurt.
Of course you
I've
have.
been in the worst neighborhoods, quote unquote, for violence.
After fires
Right,
and
right.
accidents.
And also pulled bullets out of houses. And we've had some stuff that I don't even talk about, the broken window neighborhoods that we've turned over. So, and it's an honor for me to be in those neighborhoods. But we are, we want everybody on Main Street to win. And come revisit Main Street. This could be a catalyst to make it the best Main Street in the best year for us, for all the businesses and for every person in New Rochelle and those that come visit the most historic city in the country.
Well, before you go, I just want to do
and shop at, if you say you're green, you're going to save green and you're going to buy the greenest things where the producers.
This is the yellow man that says that,
At
as you
our
can
reuse
see
store,
now.
too, so.
All right, I just want to reset and remind people. We invited Jim in this morning, and he's, as he knows, always
I know, we
welcome
have so
here
much fun.
at Radio Westchester. But our top story today was that his headquarters over at 659 Main Street was broken into 2 days ago. They got about $2,000 in cash.
It was
Other
less than
things-
2,000.
But whatever it was,
right.
the cash register.
Right, and you feel victimized. The thing is.
But no, but before you go,
Yeah.
I just want to be sure. See, I do the format. You're the brains of the operation.
Far from it.
I'm just the connections here. But I want to remind people coming up on Sunday, January 26th. That is, in case you like dates rather than days. 1:30 to 4:30. Join Habitat for Humanity of Westchester's fifth
Fuller
annual-
Center.
Fuller Center.
Yeah,
See, it says here-
my assistant even had to change that.
she needs.
You're
I was
right.
going to say.
Yeah,
She
you're right.
did it. It
You're right.
happens. Okay.
Yep.
Join the Fuller Center for Housing, their 5th annual Love a Veteran. We already read some of the care package things. Bring food.
It's on our website.
Toiletries. It's on the
Facebook, which is
website.
Fuller Center for Housing of Greater New York City.
It's a ball. A $10 donation gets you a 50-50
And
raffle
kids
ticket.
can
I won
pack it or
once,
make
yeah.
a Valentine too.
Go over there, 914-636-8335. Jim at the Jim at Fuller Center.
ny.org.
Fuller Center,
or you can
NY.org.
also even come for a steak on Monday. We have that.
You doing that again?
Every Monday it's Sedona Tapas.
You're still doing that? All right, I got to
They
get
asked
the crew
it-
together.
They
My
asked
old-
us to do it. Well,
my old
Marrone
radio
was the
cue.
first place we built our first house, 1988.
Now, before you leave, and
thank you for
your
everything,
final
by the way.
comments. Before you leave, strategically, where you all headed? Where's Fuller Center for Housing headed here?
Well,
in
we're
the New
writing a
York area?
strategic plan now. 'Cause-
See,
right.
My
which-
instinct was correct
Yeah,
for a little
absolutely.
brain.
You know, we have where our strengths are, where we have a lot of welcoming partners and support funding wise, and you know, it's a big county and we've covered it a lot. The key is creating local leaders in every town and city where we're at or neighborhood. So we have a local leadership committee in New Rochelle. We have a local team. We were just asked to rehab the basement of a great leader, Reverend Pulliam's church. Great guy. He was the one, by the way, who went to Joyce Beverage when he was working there and said, will you give us a day off for Dr. Martin Luther King? And it was really the precursor to a national holiday here in New Rochelle.
Is that right? I didn't
yeah,
know that.
I'll get him to, no, it's amazing. So, you know, to create local strong, like mini advisory boards. So we have one that meets in Yonkers at the diner down there. And to the Bronx, we've been in the Bronx and we've had requests, but we're creating a local leadership training because, you know, it's like starting offices, which you in corporate America, creating more leaders. This
Yes.
isn't about Jim. This is about the future. You know, I don't want to die tomorrow, but you know, I'm 62. I've got it's come,
Gee,
it's come quick. It's come quick.
old.
It's come
Well,
quick.
listen. Before we go any
So
further,
thank
am
you,
I
but-
in the will?
I twice.
Well, then I don't want you to die tomorrow.
Once for all the outfits that I have, and the other.
I
is-
don't want those, please.
And the other-
No. Keep the colorful
And for
stuff.
the tchotchkes, the historic
Oh,
tchotchkes.
Actually, I like the yellow more than the orange when you used to look like a tangerine.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
safety green, as you see on construction sites, is so
Yeah.
important. So we have people building today, and we also are starting Boomer Builders building boomers.
Excuse me.
Boomer Builders
Is this
Building-
like a radio
build-
speech class?
building boomers. Yes, free time.
Building boomers.
Right. Well, you know, they say that the baby boomers, the amount of people that are becoming our age,
Yeah.
is going to be the largest amount, and there aren't enough really people to help to meet all the needs that's going to
No,
happen.
that's true. Look, more and more we're getting sponsor requests from people who deal in that industry of dealing with aging
with
boomers. so.
seniors and all that. So we have that's why we rehab so many.
I just thought of something.
And we have retirees help us
Someone
too.
needs to invent a boomer phone. I refuse, and I really do think some of my younger colleagues are hurting themselves. They're hurting their efficiency because it has affected even the way they work, which is they go from one thing to another. They don't finish anything.
ADD.
Everybody's got ADD.
No, because we're so overstimulated with it.
Do you know what I did?
I
did
wanna
an
get rid of
experiment.
my phone.
I don't know if you're familiar with what I did. I did an experiment last year, and I had to drop it because doing news, you need to have an iPhone. But for 6 months, I switched to a flip phone. Now, you can do everything,
Good
except
friend of
it's
mine
more
has a flip
onerous, and it's difficult.
Right.
So if you're going to text, you really better need to text.
Right.
Okay.
I think
you
a
still
flip
get your
phone is better.
voicemails. You still can look at the internet.
Right.
But what it does is it changes the polarity. You choose when you're going to do. The phone doesn't run your life.
Right.
You close the flip and it's fine. And the only time it got embarrassing is I took my grandson to a Ranger game. And you know the way you have to check in your hardware at the metal detector?
Right.
He called off all the other guards.
to
Look, it's
look at this,
1990 in this
look at this.
basket. But
A
you know
good
what?
friend of mine in New Jersey.
The day I don't
has a
do
flip
this,
phone.
the iPhone's gone.
He said that's all I have, and I think we're going to find when one cyber attack hits by a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And remember, 3 weeks ago they say Iran had the best cybersecurity in the world. They were talking about it. That was one. You know, we have to have our kids, and I say this to everyone, ready to live without a phone. I think giving them a phone at a young age is a disservice.
And they're going to be terrible leaders, too. One of the things that we know, if you got someone who's on their phone all day, they can't lead. They can't make decisions because they haven't learned yet how to control events rather than having events control. Huge problem. And that's why a lot of people complain about their bosses today, and they complain about middle management, as well they should. We don't produce good leaders anymore. We produce robots that do what their phones tell them. I'm really troubled by this.
That's where our high school leaders come back to me. I remember I have that high school advisory board, and now they're graduated college, and they get away from the phones, and they go to the construction sites, and they're going on to Northeastern or University of Chicago or Stanford, but they know how to build, and they come back after college and stay with me.
Well, listen, give out your information one more time.
I
got to go to break.
FullerCenterNY.org, FullerCenterNY.org. If you need help on your home or you want to give a contribution, 406-3357 gets you directly to me. Builders Camp, great sending care packages to soldiers overseas for Valentine's Day so they get on time. Come to 659 Main. Revisit the most historic Main Street. Shop at Talner's. Shop at the reuse store. Shop at everywhere.
Reuse,
and just
dollar stores,
intentionally,
everything.
just like the phone, get away from Amazon and intentionally support your local Main Street and your local.
Jim Kaloran, Executive
Thank you
Director
for all
of the
this
Fuller
time,
Center
Bob.
for Housing. Thank you for coming in. It was great to see you. Sorry about your troubles. If you need us to get the word out, we are always here.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
God
Jim
bless.
Kaloran, everybody. Oh, thank you, Jim. All right, we're headed into the top of the hour. We should be hearing from Vince Russo directly, but before we do that, we have to give another look at the weather. The weather. It actually gets colder before it gets warm. It's 33 degrees, going up to the high of 43 today, but it'll level off at about 40. Clear skies now, clouding up tonight, dry with lows around 30 degrees. Tomorrow, breaks of sunshine, warm with highs around 48, wind out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles an hour. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night, highs around 35. You may have some snow or slush or whatever on, let's see. Let me get this phone, let me lock this in. Russo's on hold now. Through the miracle of technology. All right. We said Saturday you may see some snow or sleet. It's not going to amount to very much. Don't go running out and buying bread and milk and everything else. Highs around 42. Saturday night gradually clearing skies with lows around 35. The weather was brought to you exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses, and it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit UHGC.com. And the top of the hour is brought to you by Aging Issues Management and their partners, Aging Issues Radio. Go online. They did another show last night here at 6 o'clock. Terrific event. You'll want to check our website or Aging Issues Radio. The law firm of Payne & Kahn, Plug-in Virtual Reality, and Dominic's Fine Cigars. Now remember, we will be doing our show live a week, I guess 2 weeks from tomorrow, at Dominic's Fine Cigars. And we go to our first guest of the 7 o'clock hour. You can't see it, but Jim brought me a bagel. It's weird. I think it's a whole wheat bagel. I guess, why not? But just don't mention salad pizza. In fact, let's ask Vince Russo about that. I'd love to do this. Good morning, Vince. How are you?
Good morning, Bob. We're not at the top of the hour, by the way.
No. You have to understand, radio is broken into two halves. There's the top of the hour and there's the bottom of the hour. The top of the hour is between until the 30. You got it now?
I got it.
All right, fine. Now, really, et tu, Brute, et tu. Oh, it's at the top of the hour, Bob. It's at 7:20. Well, I had a special guest because this guy has been doing this wonderful work, the Habitat for Humanity and Fuller Center for Housing for 30 years in this city, and they robbed his joint Monday.
Oh, what a shame. I'm familiar with Jim. That is tragic.
Yeah. So, but again, he came in. As we say, for those of us who like to steal, he's got insurance. But again, so we had him in, and we kept him through the top of the hour. You see, but we still have to give our sponsors, just have to teach them this, folks, credit for the top of the hour, and we're still in the top of the hour until we get to 7:30. All right.
Got it.
I hate all of it. I hate you. I hate Anthony. I hate all of them. All right. Before we get rolling, I just thought of something. Now I need you to look into your soul. Do you have the same contempt for salad pizza that I do?
Oh, absolutely.
How dare they call it pizza?
It's crazy. My niece had it the other day when we were over the house.
Did you beat her?
No. Look, if you like it, you like it.
No,
my other niece from California was in town one time, and we had pizza, and she said to me, do you have ranch dressing? And
no. You don't put ranch dressing. No. On pizza?
I said, what the hell do you want ranch dressing for? And she says, to put it on the pizza.
She should be in prison.
I was like, oh, my God. I was ready to vomit.
Well, if I may criticize mostly women in this case, but the men do it too before I get accused of being sexist. Girls, if you're going to go to McDonald's, I'm going to eat healthy today. I'm only going to get a small burger, but don't forget to put cheese, ranch dressing. If you're going to have the cheese and the ranch dressing, just get a regular burger and knock it off. If you're going to put salad on a piece of bread, I will not call it salad pizza. Don't go put ranch dressing on it. You may as well have a pizza with pepperoni. What's wrong with you? And then these businesses con you, come in for our healthy menu. This with cheese, that with cheese, this with goat cheese, this with rat testicle cheese. I don't get it.
Well, I don't get it either. I mean, I wouldn't eat salad pizza, but hey, if you like it, you like it. I mean, it's fine with me.
What did you call it? Do not call it salad pizza. See, people don't realize this, but you can make a connection to this whole issue of being sexually fluid. When we started playing games with reality, it probably started with pizza. Okay. No, because you do not call this sacred food salad pizza. Just don't do it. It's a bunch of leaves on a piece of unleavened bread. Okay. All right, now let's get into cases. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Did you watch what I do, and I know to the disappointment of some of my listeners, because I don't want to shoot myself in the middle of the night, this time around, Watergate, as you knew, I knew every line, but I've done so much reading on this case, I don't watch the impeachment hearings because of all the posturing. I just read the summaries or look at the summaries at the end of the day. And,
I'm the same way. I didn't watch any of it. But there's nothing really to listen to. When we were deep into Watergate, there was all sorts of testimony. There were different witnesses. There were different revelations. I remember when Alexander Butterfield said, well, why don't you just listen to the tapes? And the whole room just went silent, and everybody's going, what tapes? And that's how that came out. All of this is just the posturing that we've been hearing for months. The Trump people are not going to put up any kind of defense. And to their credit, they're not obliged to. I mean, they don't have to prove innocence. They just have to,
filibuster,
rebut.
yeah.
Yeah, and they'll filibuster, and the other side has to prove, that a crime was committed. But it's just posturing and blustering.
They don't even have to prove that a crime was committed. One of the great debates right now, and even by the ambiguity of things that Dershowitz has said, is that he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. It doesn't have to be a crime. And then on the other hand, it has to be a crime. And very frankly, neither is true. It's whatever the Senate says it is. And of course, the Congress gets to make a case, in all fairness to them, that they think that this does reach that bar. But the bar heretofore has been undefined. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and that's the way the process works.
Now,
as I said the other day, I think the founding fathers assumed a reasonableness on both sides, and that isn't the case at this point.
One thing that does trouble me, you know what I don't want, and I keep waiting for this, and it's going to happen in 1 year or 5 years. And this, of course, is my own, and when I say bias opinion, it's not biased to have an opinion, it's just the opinion I have. I don't want to hear, and we know we're going to hear this at the end of the Trump presidency, whether you like Mr. Trump or not. I don't want to hear, well, we had to do, no, I don't want to hear that. Well, it was a difficult time, we pulled our hair out. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, did you do the right thing for the country? Now, if they believe it's the right thing for the country to behave as they are, kudos to them. But I don't want to hear them say we had to go along, because an awful lot of people said that in a lot of other countries where people were treated very badly and the law was flaunted. I really don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear, and you know we're going to. And you know we're going to. You know, it's like the kids that go along when someone goes and does a murder or whatever the case may be. The sound is here, sir. It's only right in front of you, John Bailey. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got a new guest. I got to put the camera on John now. John, could you move over a little to your left? I want you to be handsome. Yeah, there you are. Oh, my God. Frightening picture. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry, Vince says we're now on film. See, and we don't have you on film because we don't like to scare the audience.
I know, that would be a...
So anyway, what do you think so far? What's your summary of the trial? I mean, we know he's not going to be removed from office, but I think the president heard himself yesterday. He was talking about how Bolton, he should leave it to his lawyers. He was trying to explain why Bolton should not be allowed to testify. And instead of saying executive privilege, he would say, yeah, but he knows the way I feel about leaders. What if he talks about that? He should keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, if he kept his mouth shut, he wouldn't be in all this trouble.
Well, that's true. That's like the line in The Honeymooners: "If you don't want to argue, what did you get married for?"
Get married for, you know. I mean, it's really the case, and and of course he's arguing now that they should have called Bolton in the when they had the hearings in the House of Representatives, but he wouldn't allow him to testify in the House of Representatives, and now he's saying that he doesn't. They should have called him then. Now they can't call him. I mean,
well, in fact,
this is just a whole waste of everybody's time.
Well, here's the paradox.
We know what the outcome is going to be.
Here's the paradox. Yeah, but we still need to do it. We need to honor the American process. And I have this conversation with a lot of people. Of course, we know what the outcome is going to be, but everybody has a duty, and the Congress does have a duty, even if it would they're obviously enjoying it. But even if it were distasteful to them, they have a duty to bring these charges. This is our process. And even though it won't result in a removal of the president, it will remind future presidents that you'll be held accountable. This is no small thing.
Will they be held accountable? I mean, as long as they have... I don't think so, because as long as the president has the majority in the Senate, they can basically do whatever they want.
Well, almost, but still, do you think the president likes going through this? Do you think the Republicans like going through this? It's like when the cop car pulls up behind you. You may not get the ticket, but it kind of keeps you on your toes, no? Just a little bit?
Well, to answer your question, does the president like going through this? I think the answer is yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, now, the president
he wants to be, any time he's in the spotlight, any time he's the center of everything, he loves it. And I think that that's part of all of this tweeting and all this other nonsense that this guy does, that he just wants to be the center of attention for good, bad, or indifferent. And I think, he does like this. And I think he is going to just revel in the fact that they're going to, quote, acquit him when there is really no trial, so to speak, that's taking place.
See, I look at it a little bit differently. And this is, not that how can I phrase this? See, we elected a president, and we've elected other people before like this. We've seen people in business, Steve Jobs being one of them, who were such control freaks. Because remember, he ran a business where it was top down thoroughly. What he wanted, he did. Presidents have this whole bureaucracy, including people that work for them. I just think he doesn't, because I know some people like this. They're the type of person, you're typing something on your phone and they swat your hands away and they want to do it better. I think the president feels he has to defend himself all the time. I think that's how he's wired. But I did want to mention something else. The greatest paradox about yesterday's hearings and what I could read is the president's defenders are saying that they should have gotten these documents and these witnesses before. But one of the things he's being charged with in the impeachment articles is not allowing these people to come forward.
Right. That's what I was mentioning before.
And this is where I have lumps on the left side of my head from hitting my head against the wall. But you know what? I got some tweets last night. And people were right. Some of the Democrats are starting to Trump Trump with some of the horrible things they're saying about the president when he first took office, and they're taking leaps about how he cheated. They don't know that. And both sides are just with the rhetoric. It's just getting nuts.
Yeah, and that's all it is, and people are sick of it, and it's really corrupted the process. I mean, the process is supposed to have been one where there was fact finding, there was evidence, there was testimony, the way Watergate was. And you remember in Watergate that the Republicans were in lockstep against the whole process and against impeachment. However, once the evidence started coming out, people who were against, removing President Nixon, they started saying, "Hey, wait a minute, maybe this guy actually did something wrong."
Well, that's why I said I don't want to hear 5 years from now. Well, we had to go along. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You shouldn't have been elected if you took an oath, which both sides. I mean, oaths are just ridiculous anymore. Our country has lost its soul, my friend.
Yeah,
I do
it's
believe
unfortunate.
that. Cynicism rules the day.
On another matter, I was just reading that there's going to be a case coming before the Supreme Court, which is looking to overturn the constitutional amendments in 38 states and require taxpayers to fund religious schools.
Well, that's interesting. Now, there is a little silver lining here. Now, I am, full disclosure, one of the few organizations I've ever joined is the Society for the Separation of Church and State, okay? But even having said that, I don't have a problem with the government providing money for whatever the core of education is. But beyond that, I don't. So I don't know what the particulars are here. What is the distinction? Do you know?
Well, in Montana, the basis of the suit is in Montana there is what they call a no-aid amendment to the state constitution, and it prohibits direct or indirect funding for any sectarian purpose. So the government can't give money to a religious school. They can't, give money to a church or anything like that. And I think it's absolutely spot on because you can't have this whole business of public education and then diverting money from that to private education, because what's going to happen is all of the elites will go to all these private schools, and then the public schools will wither and be even in worse shape than they are now, and the majority of the students in the poor schools, the public schools, will be people who aren't well off. They don't have money.
By the way, and this is a paradox here, do you think this would fly at your congregation on Sundays? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No. I think, but not for the reason you're thinking. I think that people would be for eliminating this prohibition, but not because of the religious aspect of it, but because they're conservatives.
Oh, I understand. Yes.
And the conservatives feel that we should be giving money to private schools, not necessarily private religious schools, but private institutions.
I've got to move on, but I want to challenge you and anyone listening. This is not a popular position, but I'm going to make the statement now. Go on YouTube one of these days when you have an hour to kill, or two, and go on and go search for Christopher Hitchens debates with priests, philosophers, psychologists, rabbis, crystal believers. He has never, I say this categorically, never lost a debate. It's uncanny. And I didn't realize it, but YouTube is filled with it. And really got to do it. Just do one. It's enlightening. It doesn't question goodness at all, but it's interesting. Hey, listen, I got to go. Vince, do me a favor. Do not allow anyone to use the term salad pizza.
Will do, Bob.
All right,
I'll
talk
keep
to
them
you
on
later.
their toes.
All right,
Bye.
thanks very much. Salad pizza it is, in 7:37. We're only running 2 minutes late. We're going to go to our next guest, but first I want to remind you, this is Radio Westchester, Mornings with Bob Marrone. I am Bob Marrone, and we're going to speak with now our second guest of them, well, actually third guest. We've had a busy day. Is our man in White Plains, John Bailey. He is the managing editor and publisher of White Plains Citizen.net. He's also a TV host, White Plains Week. And again, he is our man in White Plains, and he always comes prepared. And we're going to get straight to him because he's handed us his magical list. Good morning, John Bailey.
Good morning, world.
Well, you see, what is yellow's the color of the day. You see yourself up there with your yellow tie. Let me fix the camera on you. You're not, but you know what the interesting thing about this is that Jim Kaloran came in here earlier today. He had more yellow than a bee.
Well, we're
looked like
trying
an-
to
he looked
get
like
this
an
cold snap over with.
But you've got this on a plaid green shirt. You look like an infection.
Speaking of infections,
Well,
should we close the border to people coming in from China?
Well, I don't know.
Sh-
I'll check a fortune
Is that a
cookie.
possibility?
It is a possibility.
The epidemics are not good.
No, I know that. Well, I've got a friend in the hospital right now. He got a very bad cold, and they kept him in quarantine. They're all worried about the coronavirus. So, all right, Con Edison delivery charge hikes approved by the Public Service Commission. That's your first item. That's
Very
this is
quietly.
You're coming out of the box with this exciting news.
Well, it's
Get a little
important
closer
news.
to the mic, or do you want? Do you
Okay.
want to do? Do you want
How's
to?
that?
Do you want a phone book to something? Do
How's
they still
that?
have phone books?
No, it's just I'm not used to a tall mic. You know.
Oh, no, I get that.
Right. But no, I mean, this was very quietly done.
Mm-hmm.
There was no big, I mean, where were all those politicians 2 years ago screaming about Con Ed performance, and they let this pass without one word of
How much is it
criticism?
costing us?
Well, here it is. If you are a electric customer of Con Ed, your delivery charge, that's the wires and stuff that bring the electricity to your home.
Yeah, I like the way they itemize this stuff.
Yes, right. And the delivery
Pretty soon they're going to charge us for each electron that moves through a wire.
Exactly. And they move regardless of what they do. It's like a razor. It's a razor, and you're just putting in the blade, which is electric
To carve us up.
current.
This is
Yes,
an
right.
interesting.
So I mean, you know, it's up 0.64 cents to $13.64 per kilowatt hour. That's the new delivery charge.
Doesn't that sound like an old doo-wop song? Kilowatt, 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 kilowatt. I'm sorry.
Yes, but this is serious because over 12 months, it means it goes up $78 to $81.50, and that's $350 a month, $42 more a year. Okay, for delivering your electricity. That doesn't sound like much, but remember, the more kilowatts you use, the more you get charged.
Okay, bottom line, tell people, though, what this means. How much is their bill going to go up? Get to the head. Don't bury the lead.
Well, I'm not, but I mean, it's $42 more a year. That's on my bill.
That's
but
on
I
your
have
bill.
the green energy rate that.
You do have
Westchester-
you all,
I
and you
do.
told us about that last year that people should go
Yes,
and get the green
right.
energy rate.
And the other big killer increase is for natural gas. Right now, as of 2018, the charge for delivering your natural gas from Con Ed was $83.
And now?
And now it's going up $12, and 12 times 95 is $1,140 a year for delivery. And natural gas is expensive.
But it was supposed to be so much cheaper that they're closing Indian Point. Are you telling us that the price is crawling up once again?
Well, it just did. It was retroactive to January the 1st. Now, natural gas, I couldn't get the latest prices on natural gas. There's no demonstration of the bill on the Con Ed's website. But To my way of thinking, if you use a lot of natural gas to heat, you are destroyed by this delivery charge. You not only have to pay the gas, but you're at minimum $1,100 a year more in just the delivery.
Okay.
Now, my feeling is the Public Service Commission just rubber stamped this. Nobody complained about it on the political side.
Stay near the mic. The mic
Right.
loves you.
Nobody complained about this on the political side. Why not? Why not?
Because it's
They
not
are,
convenient.
they are first to say we're really behind you, consumers, to get Con Ed and Nice Egg and all those power companies to do the right thing and get you back up and cooking in less than 10 days with your electricity. But Con Ed has the nerve to raise their delivery charge and say it's for infrastructure, and they don't detail what infrastructure they're fixing.
Well, have you ever looked at your cable
didn't even
bill?
Spell it out on a Con Ed.
Have you ever
press
looked at your
release.
cable bill? Now, I hope my provider here isn't listening, but I'm all in favor of people finding their favorite Hulu or whatever it is, because I am appalled at all the different items on a cable bill. Have you ever? I want you to. In fact, we haven't done this in about a year.
My wife pays it. I don't
No,
pay
I'm
attention
gonna.
to
Well,
it.
I want you to look at the lines.
Yeah.
They charge you for things that you can't even make up, like the interstate charge for the use of sound over the internet by internet protocol times 7 equals dust. It's no. What I want is the destruction of cable television, and I want everything to go to streaming. And then you can turn your stream onto your TV anyway and kill the cable
that's
providers.
happening.
Kill the packagers. Kill them with their own gun. All right, let's go on to your next item. Mayor Roach calls for congressional action on what?
On the Trump situation.
On the who?
The Trump situation.
What, did somebody light a
Douchebag.
match in his cave? I mean,
No,
what the hell is he
it's-
talking about?
Well, this was
Congress is already involved.
Well, the Unity Breakfast, which is held every year on Martin Luther King Day,
Yeah.
by the Thomas Slater Center. Everybody gets together in the community and simply, celebrates Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy.
I need to create a song called Pander. Now, I love Martin Luther King, and I'm on the record. I consider him the greatest American of my lifetime. But for some of these politicians to use his birthday to say stupid things, Congress is already involved. What is he talking about?
Well, Mr. Roach started off by saying how much Martin Luther King's letter from the Birmingham jail influenced his life.
I read it. It influenced me
that's
too. But
right.
what's it got to
And
do with
then
Congress?
he
Please link it to Congress for me.
Well,
Not that I can
what
ask you to
he
ask. What is he saying?
What he said was these are very troubled times.
No kidding.
To celebrate this day, and he felt that the nation was in crisis, and he also,
Of course it is.
and he said he basically called Mr. Trump a monster. A monster. That's a very harsh quote from a public
It is,
official.
but you know what?
And-
Where he should smarten up.
But he was speaking from the heart about concern for the nation, and
Good for him. And you
Yes.
know what? He was pandering to now the far left as well, where the far left is creating a second monster of fake truths. So both the extremes of both sides, hopefully. But he's not going to say that.
as the
As you can tell, I'm getting fed up with the left now, too.
Yeah. Well, Mayor Roach also said that we do not have to know what Mr. Trump really is. We hear every day from him exactly what he is, and he tells you what he's all about. And I think that's
This
the
is true.
whole
No,
point.
this is true,
He
but I'm
means
still
what he
see
says.
what I'm trying to tie it
Yeah.
is calls for Congress to do what? Congress is
They
already
have-
impeaching him.
they-
What do they want him to do?
they-
Burn the White House down?
What Congress needs to do, of course, is to get 67 votes to throw him out. But they're not going to do that. This is a dog and pony show for the campaign.
Ruff. Absolutely. Okay, 3, field of 5 run for David Buchwald's seat.
Which is the 33rd Assembly District, and they
Is
are
Buchwald still the leader in this race?
Well, he's not running for no, he is.
Oh, for his seat.
in-
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't tell the seats without a scorecard these days.
Go ahead, sir.
But anyway, the 5 are Jeremiah Free Pearson, a White Plains lawyer and a very famous lawyer across the country in civil rights cases and rights for the handicapped. Kristen Browd of Newcastle, who is a lawyer, and Chris Burdick of Bedford, who is a town supervisor of Bedford. And
Wait, the town supervisor wants to run for... Well, you know why? These are
assembly.
gimme jobs. I'm beginning to... My hope fades. 75 grand to show up one day a week and smile.
well, I don't know what he makes there, but
Well, that's what you get for county legislature.
and Mark Jaffe of Harrison is going to run, and the former chief of staff for David Buchwald, Alex Roithmeyer of White Plains, is running. So that's 5 for the primary in June.
Okay.
And it's going to be an interesting race. Now, the big dog in the race
Ruff!
is, of course, the White Plains population. White Plains has the most population in the district.
So who's the
And,
big dog?
I think Fry Pearson is the endorsed candidate from the Democratic City Committee.
Irv?
And then the others piled in, but we shall see. We shall see.
Okay, it is 7:48. We are, of course, talking with our man in White Plains and are getting our White Plains report. A lot going on there. We now go to the school system. The school district estimates school. I worry
White
about
Plains City
Jake.
School
He's
District.
been dying here for a week in the morning. He must have that coronavirus.
No,
Anyway,
I had a cold, and it lasted about 7 to 9 days.
the poor guy is dying, but he still comes in every day. God bless him. All right, school district estimates the budget will rise $262 million in 5 years.
No, rise.
Two. Thank you. With a $9 million deficit. Are you guys doing any better a job of educating our kids than some of these other school districts, or are you just sending them on their way like everybody else?
No.
That's quick.
Right. No, the situation is that we still are only getting about 45% of 8th graders passing the English language assessment test, which is not good going into high school. Means they have to be remediated.
Well, why
getting
aren't we-
freshman year?
What is the problem? See, I ask these questions, and I've gone very cynical in our education.
Well, nobody
system.
has defined that as to why our tests that show the students are reading at grade level at 8th grade do not match results on the state assessment
because they
tests.
fake it.
Well,
School
I do not
education
know.
has
But
become
the
let's
White
play
Plains
pretend.
District- the White
Let's
Plains-
pretend the kids really want to learn. Let's pretend that their parents give a spit. Let's pretend. Let's not hold the parents accountable. Let's not hold the kids accountable, and let's just rush them through and fake the reports.
Well, this is exactly the problem here because the assessment tests are a big parent issue, and the politicians now no longer care whether the
afraid.
assessment tests are
And you
excellent
know what's
or not.
cool?
Well,
The rich folks up county want to know why little Igor can't go to Yale because he's a dum-dum and doesn't work hard. And the people whose kids can't add 2 and 2 as 16 don't want to test that. So everybody is upset.
nobody likes bad news, right? And particularly a parent. And, it is a big crisis. But, I mean, that is a lot. It's going up from 234 million this year. And in 5 years, they expect to hit 262 million. And they will still have a expenses over revenues deficit of 9 million. That's our forecast. Now, I wonder why they don't sort of develop a budget cutting program.
Do you know what I understand? I was just going to say that. Do you know what
Great minds think alike, Bob.
No,
That's
you
where
know what I don't
together.
you know what one of the difficult things we have in a democracy?
Yeah.
Of course, I get to make these proclamations, but there's a difference between proclamations and opinion and governing, and I understand that. That's why a lot of people like Trump, and it's their right to, because he likes to cut through the BS and get stuff done. But you just can't
like
do it.
tough guys,
No,
Bob.
no. For
They like
example,
tough guys.
they probably should take out all these union leaders and shoot them, but you can't.
No,
the
no,
union makes it so expensive because
need
they
them.
don't know. But we do. But here's the problem. unions close in on themselves because they start treating children like widgets, like business, like product. And the more kids you have and the more kids you pass, the better off you're paid and the more money you get, where what they should be doing is protecting teachers from violence, making our schools safer, but it doesn't promote what they do. Now, if I were king, I would keep a union, but I would shoot all the egregious, but you can't do that. All anyway, don't get me started.
But
All right.
be that as it may, the situation in the White Plains School District and means more property taxes ahead, increasing gradually over the years.
For less results.
Well, the results will remain the same. Because in order to get a real kick in performance, you've got to get at least 70% or 75% of
Get metal
students
detectors in your
reading
schools?
by ninth grade.
Wait a minute, they can't read. Now, is it just a language thing?
I'm using the ELA because if you can't read, you can't do math problems either.
Okay.
Think about that.
The
The math assessment is mainly for the science.
7:53. I wish there was vodka in this can of coffee. All
You
right,
really need to drink a
let's
lot more
move
these
on.
days.
Governor Cuomo's budget, a whopper.
It is
And not a tasty
I
whopper.
have here
Countless
somewhere.
documents. Yes, go ahead.
a 14-page press release on the budget. There,
Yeah.
can we see that up there?
Yeah, I'll put it on the big camera. Yeah.
A 14-page press release.
Well, that's
the
one
longest
page.
press release full of more facts than I've ever seen in a press release. And it's an amazing increase in spending.
Do you know what we teach people when you write the news?
What?
There's an old axe, and I forget, it may have been, it was some person was writing, and it was a great writer, one of the great writers of our time, and naturally I forget the name of him. But he wrote a letter home from a war zone, and he said, I'd have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. Because the more garbage you put out, the more you can obfuscate. I don't want a 50. I want to know what's
Well,
going up and what it costs me and what I'm paying for.
$178 billion is the new budget.
And I'm glad
As presented now.
He cut the school budget, and I'm glad he did, because we're not getting what we pay for.
Well, he is adding school.
He's adding. It was
payments.
supposed to be 4%, but he cut it to 3%. Good for him.
Yes, but what he's doing,
We should
and
pay
what
for
he wants
results.
to do, though, is he wants to divert a great deal of the school aid to the poor schools.
Well, that's good.
And that is not going to fly well with the hoi polloi districts. Who
Too
get-
bad.
Yes.
Too bad.
It's not
Too
going to
bad.
fly
But,
well.
but here's the
but they
problem. When
shouldn't
it
get
goes
aid.
to these districts, though,
But-
they don't spend it well because they have a fake agenda.
But, it's not a fake agenda. It's that the priorities are in the wrong place.
Well, same
I want to
same
see
thing.
less money spent on sports facilities. I want to see longer school days.
Yeah, longer school
and-
days.
And I want to see more getting up to
How
speed
about more
classes.
parent outreach?
Yeah.
How about making sure kids show up on time?
Absolutely. Parents have to be taught how to
Yeah, good
raise
luck.
kids
Good luck with that.
once they go to school.
Good luck with that. I don't know what the answer is, but
Because
we need to face it, is what I'm
We
saying.
should go back to where only the man or only the woman works. That way.
No, that you can't do.
You can't. You can't afford it today. You
No,
need a
you can't.
two-income family.
No, but it doesn't mean you can't encourage your kids to have an education. It doesn't mean that if they misbehave, you don't call them accountable. You don't hold them, and we don't do that anymore. It's 7:56. Tracy
true.
Brown. Who is Tracy Brown?
Tracy Brown is the executive director of Save the Sound, the environmental group, which sued the Westchester County and the seven towns
For what?
in Westchester for leaky sewer lines, which were polluting the sound, and they won the suit. And that is why George Latimer started a study. Doesn't this sound familiar? Starting a study of how we can consolidate sewer lines and make economies in the sewer situation. However, what she told me in an interview last week, which people could see on wpcommunitymedia.org, that the cost of fixing all this is predicted by Controller Napoli, the Napoli of the New York State, to be $72 billion.
The fake phony fraud?
72 billion.
No, not fraud. The fake phony up in Albany. I lost all my respect for him over the Mount Vernon thing.
Well, this is the point. If it's going to cost the state $72 billion to fix all the sewers, then what does this mean? It means we don't have a $6 billion deficit. We have in the state budget just presented. We have a $80 billion deficit.
How much?
80 billion.
80 billion. Well,
if you count the
that's
72
if you
billion.
put the 72 billion that
that's
needs to
right.
be. But you know, well,
78 billion.
this is a long running problem where both locally,
Yes, they've known about
statewide,
it
and
for
nationally,
15 years.
yeah, we don't invest in infrastructure and it adds up.
Yes, in fact,
absolutely.
but what was ludicrous was after Ms. Brown appeared on my program with this totally shocking news, he and a number of other legislators and public officials had a big rally asking for money to be sunk into fixing the county infrastructure, roads, bridges, etc.
Well, you're just in a really good mood today. I have two questions for you
but
before you go.
I mean,
Two
the
questions.
sewers are really important for the water table.
Now, I need you to answer this. This is a little bit on the lighter side of things. Do you believe in such things as salad pizza?
No.
Good.
No.
That's
they
number one.
Charge $25 for essentially a salad.
And what could we do to get the
Forget
spineless state controller out of office?
Oh my goodness. This must be George Latimer.
No. You know what it is? This is. I tried to call these people. This is my next guest, and now they're calling me on the backup line, but they didn't answer their phone. Now, if you guys would answer the phone, we could put your guest on. All right. Good God Almighty.
Burning bridges as we go.
Yeah, it's, you know.
Right.
So now watch this. I'm calling them on this special computer. Let's see if
Okay.
they answer.
And we're sending a call out from the station.
Let's see if they're in. Okay, stay right there, please. We want to put your guest on. This is Radio Westchester. Please stay on hold. All righty, so where were we?
Well, got to say goodbye to Eli Manning, the classiest player in New York for many years. He's retiring.
Yes, he is. And we have to say hello to
Class
this
guy.
new manager. You know what I'm trying to figure out?
Who is Luis Rojas?
Oh, he's a very good baseball man. Although his father is a Lou, but his name is Rojas. I haven't sorted that out yet.
Is he a son of Cookie Rojas? the
No,
great third
he's the
baseman?
son of Felipe Alou and all those Alou, the great Alou ball player. So, listen, we have to go. The other thing is I want you to figure out how we can get the state controller out of office for what he did in Mount Vernon, or for what he didn't do.
Well, he did. Well, he doesn't do a lot of things.
Well, we need to hold him.
Yeah.
And I used to be a big fan of his, and he really disappointed me. And I had the records. I followed the records. I know that he's a pandering little tugboat. I got to go.
Oh,
I got to go.
one
Thank you.
more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The one thing is, when are we going to do an audit of hospital and their hospital charges and their price fixing?
Oh, we ought to do that very soon. John Bailey, WhitePlainsCitizen.net. Thank you very much. We need to get quickly to our next guest. You know how it is, folks. We're very busy back here. John Bailey, thank you very much. Now, our next guest, and again, we just chided them in a fun way. Our next guest is, I got the wrong item. Okay, it is Megan Sower, and and I hope I'm doing this right. She is a, what am I doing here? Okay, Megan Sower, health and wellness expert for an organization called Nature's Bounty Company, and we're talking about healthy habits. You know, like almost half of adults, you had a New Year's resolution but couldn't make it. I can't wait to find out what the healthy habits are and what supplements. Now, I'm not a great believer in supplements unless they work, which I guess makes sense. So without further ado, please welcome Megan. So good morning, Megan. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Good morning.
Pretty good. I was just kidding your producers. They called me on the backup line, and I kept calling them. I don't think they recognized the number. So my apologies if you were slow getting to us. That was our fault. Anyway,
No worries.
let's get down to cases. I'm one of those people who wants to lose weight and be healthy. Tell me about taking time off. Tell me about supplements. What ought I be doing?
Sure. So the new year is a great time to just reevaluate and look at some of your routines that you have, and maybe fall. I know personally I've fallen off the track record with keeping up with some of my New Year's resolutions. So we're here to help you, and one of those ways is I know active lifestyles and staying fit and snacking on the go is a big thing. So we have the Pure Protein ready to drink, the R2D shakes. And they're basically the shakeable protein shake that you can take with you, whether it's post-workout or even to one of your late meetings. It has 30 grams of protein.
Hold it right
it's
there.
Really great.
Yeah, what's in there? You said protein, but what's in there? Because we read shakes are good, but juicing is not as beneficial. What's in the shake? And for example, I still play old man hockey, over 30 hockey. Now, if I drink one of these proteins after a game, what's it going to do for me?
So this is not juicing. It is a protein shake, and it's non-GMO. It's 30 grams of protein, less than 1 gram of sugar. It's only 140 calories. It's low fat, and it's packed with 24 vitamins and minerals. So this is you just shake it up. You can put it in your hockey bag. You can either it has vanilla or chocolate, but it really just helps energy support and lean muscle and strength. So this could be a good item for you. We also have the Pure protein bars, and these are high in protein, low in sugar. They come in a number of different flavors, including birthday cake and lemon cake. So again, it's another great thing you can just pack in your hockey bag, or for anyone on the go, they can just put it in their bag and have a great snack.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I noticed in some of the stuff you sent around, there was a concern about taking vacation and taking time off, something that when you do broadcasting for a living, it's very hard, as you know, to get time off because you're the product. What are the benefits of it, really? Because most Americans don't take most of their vacation.
Yeah, so absolutely. And I think no matter whether you have time off or you're busy, one thing that's important to include in your routine is skincare. Skincare is a really big thing, for anyone. And we have a new line here. It's called Dr. Organic, and it's made with select organic and natural ingredients, and it's effective yet affordable. It's also available at your local Ulta, which is awesome. But basically, there's a number of lines. There's a few ranges. There's aloe, rose, snail gel, and tea tree. I personally love the aloe vera hydrating face wash. It's really easy to incorporate into your everyday routine. You just wash your face with it every night, and it leaves your skin feeling super soft. And I usually follow up with the aloe vera moisture cream as well.
Okay, now it leaves my face feeling good. What does it do? Because I take St. Jude cream for hopeless cases on my face. But what that's why I do radio. What does it do for me in addition to feeling good?
It'll depending on what range you choose throughout the brand, it can gently cleanse your skin. It'll help with fine. The snail gel line in particular helps with fine lines. So you can do a snail gel mask or even a facial serum. And then the tea tree line helps purify, cleanses your skin. And then also the same thing with the rose restoring line. It helps restore your skin.
Okay. Now, what about what are some tips and products that can increase my energy? Do you have anything for that?
Yeah, so as I spoke to before, we have a little bit of snacking, but we also have the best bar ever, and the name really does speak for itself. It is a refrigerated protein bar, so you can taste, it's made with fresh ingredients, so you can taste the blueberry, the cherries, the almonds, the peanut butter. It's a great option, and it can be used to up to 24 hours after taken out of the fridge. So again, this is another one of those items you can take and put in your hockey bag or a snack in between shows. It's a really great option.
Well, that's something that I need. Let's talk about before we work out. And once again, I want to remind people, Megan Sowa, a health and wellness expert for the Nature's Bounty Company. Before I work out, what is recommended?
So you can either choose some of the pure protein products that I had talked to before, but then we also have for overall immune health, which is I think also top of mind as well, is the Nature's Bounty elderberry gummies, and these help with, it has vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc, and it helps with just overall immune health, and you can take 2 gummies per day, and it just really helps with overall immune support.
Anything else? What have I not asked you that you think we ought to be doing? Again, I'm concerned that people don't rest enough. I'm concerned that people don't get the right nutrition. What else can you add to this list of ideas?
Sure. So for sleep, I know sometimes between running around, the kids, work, sleep is definitely a luxury sometimes. So we have the Nature's Bounty Sleep 3, and it's a tri-layered sleeping calming effect, and it has melatonin that releases at different points throughout the night so that you can wake up feeling refreshed and, at your best. And then also we can't forget about the kiddos. My son is 6, and sometimes we want to close those nutrient gaps. So we have the Sundown Kids line, and they have multivitamin gummies, and they come in their favorite characters, so they won't mind taking them, and they're all clean all the time. So parents can feel good about giving their kids these multivitamins.
Where can we get more information?
Sure. They can head on over to Amazon.com or BestBarEver.com for all of these products and more.
Well, thank you for making time for us this morning, Megan Sower. And again, Nature's Bounty Company. Check out their website. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have a great day. All righty. We have someone just popped in the studio, and we want to say hello to them. But first, I have to do a weather report. And you can probably see him on TV. He's your county legislator, Damon Marr, for some of you. But we're just going to make a quick look at the weather, and then we will be right back. Now, the weather's brought to you exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses, and it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit uhgc.com. And it's 33 degrees, going to get up to 43 today. A normal average high is about 35, so that's not too bad. Now tonight, mostly cloudy. It's sunny now, mostly cloudy, dry with lows around 30 degrees. Friday, breaks of sunshine, warmer with highs around 48. Wind out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Now Saturday, Damon, we're going to have some slush and snow. It's not going to amount to anything. It'll be too warm to stick, so you don't have to go running around getting milk and bread, folks. As we go into the top of the 8 o'clock hour, we're supported by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, the top-rated campus of senior care, Aging Issues Management, their subsidiary Aging Issues Radio, the law firm of Payne & Con, Dominic's Fine Cigars, and Plug-in Virtual Reality. And one of the things we like to do here at the radio station, at the train station, and we're going to put his mic on, is say hello to people who come in and say hi. Legislator Damon Marr, good morning, sir.
Hi, Bob. Came on because I'm coming in out of the cold, really.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty good idea. Well, welcome. Now, you have a reputation for biking everywhere.
Yeah, I did.
Did you bike here?
I live up near Davis School. I came down here this morning. Cold is not bad if you have the right number of layers. But I got to say to the lady who was just on, I haven't been exercising as much since I've been on the county legislature. I used to do 30, 35 miles of running a week. That's gone.
How many miles?
30, 35 a week.
35 miles in addition to riding your bike?
Riding my bike, to 2 places every day. Although I have access to a car as well. But I got to tell the lady who was on, so I'm not exercising as much as I did. And I grab pizza and cookies along the way, and well, that's life right now.
That's my biggest beef with doing morning radio is it just screws up your whole day, no matter what else you do. And then dealing with the rest of the world. You get in here at 4:30, 5 o'clock. You do your show, you do your prep. It's already 2 in the afternoon, and everybody thinks that it's early in your day.
Right.
But it's not early in my day at all.
Over. Yeah.
Anyway, I see you got a clipboard. Are you getting signatures too, and who for?
Yes, I'm out here this morning for Amy Klobuchar, to put her on the ballot for the New York State primary in April. Like all the other offices, you have to get a certain number of signatures. Mm-hmm. And I'm supporting her.
Are you supporting Amy?
Yeah, I think she's a liberal Democrat that has some crossover appeal. She's from the Midwest, and I think she
does have crossover appeal.
Some of the swing states. She's very smart. She's pleasant in the debates.
Lean into the mic just a little bit, sir.
Pleasant in the debates. Not, I think we're kind of getting sick of people yelling and screaming and pointing fingers at us and each other. So I think she's a good choice. And, people, you want to come down in the next half hour, 45 minutes, you can sign.
You're going to be here a half
Yeah,
hour,
be
45 minutes?
Be here a while for the trains.
He's going to be here at the train station. He'll even show you his bike if you want. Your bike. Now, we'll
locked up.
back to the bike, and then
Yeah.
we'll get back to Amy Klobuchar. When it's cold like this, and you're out there with your bike, do you wear like a mask on your face? Or?
I have a little kerchief. It goes up around here. But, mostly it's got to go below 20 for it to really be undoable. Because the main key is the layers and then the outer shell, the nylon shell that keeps the wind
nylon
out,
shell, okay.
keeps your body heat in. You generate body heat within about 30 seconds of pedaling up a hill.
Interesting.
So,
There was this thing on Netflix, and now it's on, I forget what it's on, some other outlet called Flying. I think it's called Cold Flying or Flying in the Arctic. It's about this Buffalo airline where they fly in minus 30-degree weather. And I don't know how these people load the plane when it's minus 30 degrees and
I
stuff.
hope they're wearing gloves when they're.
Well, they do have gloves. So you're going to be here at the train station for the next 45 minutes,
Yeah,
and
I'll
he's
stick
getting
around for about
signatures for
10.
Amy Klobuchar.
there are
I
people
put her
getting-
on the ballot. I'll sign it myself.
Will you?
Yeah,
Well,
she's.
as long as you
I
haven't
like-
signed it, you're only allowed to sign one. It doesn't. This doesn't obligate you, of course, to vote for anybody in particular.
No, I know that.
But I
I'm
think
just in
it's
for
good to
getting
have,
people.
I think we're going to have good choices still. I'd like to see the choices narrowed down a bit by April. But,
Well, I got to admit, I haven't even been following the.
So that's the signature there.
Okay.
Just the regular signature. Print legibly your address
Uh-huh.
and your street address, and then your city there, city or town.
Yeah, see that? Yeah, we
go.
need her. We
And
need
I
her
learned
on the New
something
York
new. I
ballot.
learned that you're a lefty.
Yeah, I'm a
There are
lefty.
a lot of great lefties.
Well, yeah, it's a.
Starting with Sandy Koufax.
Well, now my favorite pitcher of all time. Now, are you old enough to remember him?
Oh, absolutely. He had
Did
four
you-
no-hitters in 4 consecutive
Now,
years.
I want you to help people because we
Yeah.
talk about this a lot. And let me be sure I don't get too late to my next guest, Al Tarantino. We got a few minutes, one of your colleagues. I have never in my lifetime yet seen a curveball like that.
Yeah.
Remember, it used to come in, and it looked like it came in about 95 anyway.
Tough on-
and then it
tough on
dropped
left.
off a table.
Yeah, tough on left-handers.
Oh, tough on, and that was after his arm one, when he
Well,
was
yeah.
throwing it 3/4. When he used to throw it over the top.
Well, they would pitch like 300
Yeah,
innings a year.
380 innings and,
Well,
and
yeah,
all this stuff.
Every 4 days. They
My
pitched,
favorite, my
41
absolute
starts.
favorite baseball player of all time, Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
God, he's still going strong. He's
with
80
the
something.
local connection too. There
Oh,
was,
yeah.
There was a store, at the end of Mamaroneck Avenue. There was a Koufax
I didn't know
department
that.
store, spelled differently, but I'm pretty sure we'll have to check.
Well, he
check
was a
with everybody
Brooklyn
on
boy
that, but,
who went to school not far from where I grew up,
yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
pretty
I
biased.
think you had
Well,
some
I'll let you
family.
get back to collecting signatures.
Thank you very much. I
But
appreciate it.
Damon Marr out collecting signatures for the primaries. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you.
Good to see you. You're welcome to come by anytime, and when you run, take care.
Hot, I'll come in.
Pardon?
Anytime it's cold or hot, I'll come in.
Well, you can come in. Plus, people saw you on TV. Today's a big day for colors. Kaloran was in here today with yellow. Now you're in here with orange. I feel underdressed.
Well, that's part of the bike thing is you want to be seen.
What?
Bike thing. You want to be seen. Kaloran rides a bike too. You want to be.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's very true. And then there are people who go out at night and wear all black crossing the street.
Flashing lights.
Oh, my God. All right, take care, and thanks a lot. One of the reasons we're at the train station, folks, is during political season, and we invite all stripes. You can be hard right, hard left, in the middle. You can be pro the Duck Party, and they pass a lot of bills, by the way. Yuck, 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 yuck. And you're welcome to come in this radio station and pitch your wares. And I will put anybody I can into primaries. Primaries are good things so long as we don't go. Now, I was surprised by that pick, Klobuchar. I might have thought that some people were going to the hard left, and evidently Damon is supporting someone who's not all the way over to the left. But I know that is probably a matter of opinion. It is 8:15. Let's look at what's coming up for the rest of the hour. Al Tarantino is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. He's a city councilman from District 2 here in New Rochelle. I do believe he is here now, Al Tarantino. And Andy Spano joins us at 8:35. We have so much to talk about with him. And then we have a very special guest at 9 o'clock from Choice. This young woman is the head of outreach. They actually go out and they intervene with homeless folks, try and get them in programs. And for her, as we understand it, it is a labor of love, and she'll be coming in, and you'll get a chance to meet her both on voice and on the air. Let's go to the telephone where I guess he's on the air. I got to be sure that he's there. Please welcome Al Tarantino. Good morning, sir. No, it's not.
No, Bob. You got Tom. You got Tom Ralph. I want to be quick. All right. I know you got.
No. You got 4 minutes. No, go ahead. I'm glad it's you. I should have recognized the number. My apologies, Thomas. You have so much you wanted to talk about. But first, I want you, and if you want, you have political stuff too. But first, I wanted you to comment on. You were not happy with the selections for the Hall of Fame.
Oh my God, Bob! Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Lou Gehrig, and then you got this guy Walker. Walker, little over 2,000 hits, a little over 1,300 RBIs. Not a bad batting average, 313, but certainly not in the realm of player as an epic Hall of Famer like Gehrig or Ruth or DiMaggio. I think Larry Walker being in the Hall of Fame cheapens the status of the Hall of Fame. And what I want them to do is to make two layers now of the Hall of Fame. The real Hall of Fame, like when you and I were children and we went there with our eyes wide open and looking at all these tremendous, fabulous ball players, players of their era, top players of their era, and then these other guys that are okay players, very good players, not all-time greats. I think it's a joke.
Well, yeah, it is a joke, and we see it in all the sports. Now Walker, everybody tells me Walker's a pretty good ball player, and I get that, but still, I feel that we have lowered the standards all around. Now, what about the scandal? What's your take on the scandal in baseball right now?
What I'd like them to do is a couple things. They need to vacate the championship of both the Red Sox and the Astros. What I really want to do, here's my most severest penalty. This is to the team, to the owner. 50% of his gate for the next 3 years, including his TV contract, will be forfeited. 50%, which will hurt him from paying salaries and things of that nature, and may basically relegate his team to a last-place team.
Oh, I love it. All right. Now, I wanted to ask you about those things. What else is on your mind? And thank you, because I wanted to call out to you, and it's been kind of busy. What else is on your mind this morning, sir?
Well, the hockey world is going into an all-star break, and I'm worried about the New York Islanders. They're my team, but I'm always so pessimistic about my team.
I've noticed that.
It's really crazy.
Well, they're a little flat right now. They're a little flat. The other night, they were lucky to win that game. The Rangers got 40 shots on them, and they only won they got lucky. You have a great hockey team there. I don't know what's wrong with them. I'm trying to size that up, and it's hard because they're so well coached.
Bob, I could tell you, they lost Adam Pelech, who was one of their top defensive pairings with Pulick, and Cal Clutterbuck, who is a grinder and a hard worker behind the scenes, a real team player. He was injured about 8-10 games ago, and ever since his injury, and then add to it Pelech's out for the year, that's hurt the team. They're not a deep team. They're really not a deep team, and when they lose, two really top-notch players, they can't really fill them in with anybody as equally good.
No, they cannot. But still, you got a very well-coached team. Good coaching matters. You see what's going on in Columbus? They lost their 4 best players, and they're right now they're in a playoff spot. Again, another good coach,
coaching.
Tortorella. It's amazing what he gets out of players. Although I think sometimes
I've gotten into playing fantasy hockey.
Really?
Yeah, every day, I do it on DraftKings every day. I don't play a lot of money, just a few bucks.
Sounds like
I'm
fun.
watching the Minnesota-Detroit game last night like I'm watching my home team play, because I got a few bucks on it. You can't win very much either, but,
it's
if you want to bet a lot of money, you could lose a lot of money. But I don't do it for that. I do it for the entertainment.
Well, listen, I got another guest, but I'd love to talk more about this on the air. And by the way, isn't Minnesota an interesting team? They're ancient, but they can still play some. Wow. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Tom, go ahead.
I
got to run. All right, Tom from Pelham, thank you very much. We had a lot to catch up on. And again, we have a busy schedule today, so you will bear with us. We go next to Al Tarantino. This time we do have him. He is your city councilman from District 2 here in New Rochelle. Please welcome Al Tarantino. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bob. I've been on the phone since yesterday at 8:20.
Oh, yeah, so we make one mistake. You another one going to throw me under the bus. Listen, I have an important question for you, sir, that may well affect the future of your political and business career. Are you prepared? Do
Yes.
you believe in such things as salad pizza?
Who? What? I didn't hear you.
Salad pizza. I consider it an
no.
infamia. Good. This is all right. You got my vote once again.
Now, if there's salad on it, it's not pizza.
Thank you very much. It is a bunch of leaves put on unleavened bread. And then some people have the temerity. It should be against the law. It should be punishable by life in prison. Then they put ranch dressing on it.
Yeah. Well, I was amazed when I was in the pizzeria the other day and I saw a baked penne pizza.
Oh,
And
no.
it's like,
Oh, God, no. Pizza's pizza. You want to put anchovies on it, some meatballs, a couple, but just this salad pizza. All right, let's get down.
Well, we're old. We don't know about these new things.
I'm glad. I never thought I'd enjoy being old. Cell phones and salad pizza will do it for me. Y'all had an interesting meeting last week at the library. That is all of the city councilmen and now women as well. What came out of that meeting in your view and that conversation? I know a lot of the discussion concerned development and whether or not we take a breather. And I chose that word carefully as opposed to a moratorium. Also historical designations, et cetera. What was your take about that meeting? And where are we headed?
I think, there were a lot of people there. They were engaged. They had opinions. And what I get from a lot of these meetings like that is that, people have good intentions, but many times they're not totally informed. People that are opposed to certain things tend to give a slanted view, and the job is to go and explain the whole thing to them. It's very difficult in that kind of forum to do it, but you attempt to do it and you try to do it on a one-by-one basis with the public. But so many times it's misinformation out there about how things are done and why they're done, and it's a difficult when you have 30, 40 people in a room. It's difficult to take the time to explain it because there's somebody with a new question 2 minutes later. So. It was an interesting morning, I could say that.
Where are we headed with all this? What is the take at the city council in terms of moratoriums? And again, I hate to use that word because you'd be breaking contracts, but looking at the future of development. I know your colleague Ivar Hayden said yesterday on these microphones that most of what is now done is already done. And you have several other contracts that are beginning, but essentially there are no new opportunities in I call it the enterprise zone. How does that work?
Well, the opportunities that he's talking about, there's no more opportunities in the the rental area. There's certainly opportunities in the area of office and retail. The thing that's going to have to be dealt with in the future is, do you just stay with that or do you open it up to some other type of rental rather, either rental or condo? And as far as the council, it's too early to say. The council members really haven't, we're just getting used to each other. We just, only had 2 meetings, and I think there were individuals that, questioned about the moratorium, but as putting a moratorium in place, it'd be very difficult to do because what you would do is you would probably destroy the momentum of the development because of the cycles of development and the economy. So, it's a very slippery slope if you go down that road. But, we'll see. Well, over the next couple of months, I'm sure we'll have discussions about it, and we'll have to come up with something. But I found that, again, many people were either misinformed or only understood or explained certain parts of what's going on.
These are my words, Councilman Tarantino, not yours, but isn't there a little bit of a Johnny-come-lately effect? I mean, these things were talked out, discussed, voted on, vetted, school issues. And again, people are totally within their rights, and it's responsible to question as we go. But a lot of these people certainly didn't understand what was being done. And now that they see what's being done, they're saying, whoa, is there some truth to that?
Yeah, but also you have to remember, people go to work every day. They're busy in their lives, and while they're listening, they're not listening intently because a lot of this is really difficult to grasp. And another thing that I've been saying for a while now is that the city and even the school district has to do a better job of explaining what we're doing. We need to put more information on the website.
Mm-hmm.
Today with a website, it's so easy to put the information out there. The question becomes who reads it and who doesn't read it. So it's a double-edged sword here. It's more information out there, but we need the public to read it and understand it. And if they don't understand it, speak to people to make sure that they do understand it. But this process at the beginning, there were a lot of people there. Very few. There were people that were opposed to it, but not as many as I anticipated. And some of the same people that were there at the beginning are now saying that this isn't what we expected. And again, a plan as opposed to actually seeing it in place are very different. It's hard. It's like
course.
You want to build a building, you look at a set of plans, and then when they build it, it looks totally different than what you saw on the plan. So
I have to disagree, not with you, but with people who were saying that, only because, and maybe because of what I do and different positions that I've held in the last 5 years, but I have been at conferences where these buildings were rendered. They look exactly like they did in the rendering, and they are in the places where they were reported to be planned. So a lot of it was, we need to be a little more, not you, sir, but we in the news need to be more frank in analyzing some of this. They're surprised because they weren't paying attention.
Well, in fairness to the public, let me explain. One time when I first started, there was a project that was brought forward, and they brought in a model of the project,
yes.
And it looked really nice, and the residents liked it. Everybody liked it, and then when they built it, it looked like 5 times larger than what the renderings looked like. So, there are things like that happen that, it like I said, we need to explain it better, but also the public has to become more engaged in the early process so that, and I'm not talking about 4 or 5 people. I'm talking about lots of people need to be engaged. And unfortunately, again, people are very busy with their own lives.
Fair. That's fair. You've added reason to my comment, which is well placed. 829, we are talking with Al Tarantino. He is the city councilman from District 2 here in New Rochelle. One of those rare birds, a successful and popular Republican here in Westchester County. Do you feel, I wanted to go there a little bit, and in the ebb and flow of doing political radio, it's just an opinion of mine, but I do believe the left, and I'm not talking about on the national level, but locally, I do believe that the left is beginning to overreach. And at what point in time do you think, because we need 2 parties in this country and in this county, at what point do you think we'll see the pendulum swing back a little bit? Do you think it's begun yet?
Well, I do see, as a Republican in a very heavily Democratic county, I do see the reaction people have, at least I can explain with me. Before, people were very hostile. And I'm starting to see a little bit of that slowing down.
That's good.
I'm hoping it's for the better because, the decisions we're making locally are the ones that really impact your life on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And, to take a position on something strictly because a party on this level of government is insane. Because what it'll ultimately do is it'll allow one group to push their agenda through without anybody having a say. And, that becomes dangerous because even in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. There are people, that are, extremely liberal, and some that are moderate, and some that are, sort of on the conservative side. So, one of the things I learned a long time ago is you can't please everybody. You just have to, please 51%. But, my goal has always been to try to please as many as I can.
Well, that certainly.
Hopefully it's going to get better.
Well, I hope so too, because I think, even I was telling a listener earlier that despite the anger in Washington, and despite the fact that we all know the outcome, that the president will no doubt be acquitted, but it is important to have an opposite party questioning what the party in power does, and we certainly need a restoration of that here.
Well, well, one of the things I find interesting is that, your friends, I've grown up in New Rochelle and I have a lot of friends here, and you never question party affiliation of any friend that you had. And all of a sudden what I'm seeing is people, questioning those types of things.
Yeah,
and
that's unfortunate.
That's disturbing, because a friend is a friend. It shouldn't matter whether they're a Republican or Democrat. They're a friend, and we shouldn't be getting into this where I can't be friends with you because you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. That's crazy.
One other item. One of the things that came out of that library conference, if you will, was the notion of having someone from the city council be more involved, or at least as an associate involved in the school board or school system. What's your take on that? It probably.
Well, I was the one. I had brought that up. I was the one who brought that up at the meeting, and one of the things I've always felt is that the city and the school district need to have a better communication. And I thought that maybe we should look at every quarter someone from the we put a representative from the council, and there's a representative from the school board sits in on a meeting. And it's maybe 4 meetings a year, but what it does is it gives you a little bit more understanding, and you have somebody then on the council, you have somebody on the school board that understands what the other side is doing and how it impacts what they're trying or attempting to do. So, I figured it was worth taking a shot at it, do it for a year, see if we get good results for it, and if we do, maybe expand it. But I certainly believe while they're two separate governments, they need to work together.
Okay, I think you make a lot of sense, as you often do. Anything you want to shout out about Councilman Tarantino?
No, it's relatively quiet now. We're just hoping and praying that we get as little snow as possible, so that we don't run out of money in the budget. So
I don't think that you will. Even the snow that's scheduled for this Saturday is just going to be a little bit of slush, and it'll melt away before you finish your morning coffee. Thank you so very much, Al Tarantino.
Thank you, Bob.
Take care. Al Tarantino, everyone. And that beep you heard actually was us lining up our next guest. I love it when things come together. Our next guest is someone who is no stranger to Westchester County. He is the former county executive, former educator, politician, involved in, of course, now the elections here in New York State, the Election Commission. But we value him because he's become a very knowledgeable and, quite frankly, delightful political analyst. Please welcome Andy Spano. Good. Whoop. I thought I plugged you in. All right. I guess he's gonna have to call back because somehow that didn't take. Let me see. Maybe I didn't answer the phone properly, or I hung it up incorrectly. But he will be calling momentarily. He's a very insistent fellow, and I would expect him to do that. At any rate, let's take a look at the rest of the show. Between now, the bottom of the hour, and 9 o'clock, we will talk with Andy Spano, and then we will talk with a very special guest from Choice, and you won't want to miss that. This is a woman who left police work to go out and directly recruit homeless people to help them, and her name is Jamila Blair. So we're looking forward to that. And let me see, am I going to have to call Mr. Spano myself? I might have to. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. So let me get him on the phone. So we're going to take a minute. Bear with us. The wonders of technology. And as we come up on 8:37 here on Mornings with Bob Marrone, Radio Westchester, your radio station at the train station, we have connected with Andy Spano. Again, we've had a lot of guests this morning, been very busy, and so we've had a couple of wires crossed, but we're always able to solve it, and we thank you for your patience. As I said, Andy Spano, former county executive, educator, does some work now for the Election Commission here in New York State, but as I also said before, has become a knowledgeable and a delightful political analyst. Andy Spano, good morning.
Good morning.
My compliments are done. I'm not going to start with the budget. I'm going to start with, since you were the first person on our airwaves of different stations to predict Donald Trump's ascendancy, what is your take on how the impeachment is going? And I will add one little snark, and it's not snark against or for the president, but he keeps talking and hurting himself.
Well, forget about that. You can't. He's consistent. I told you 2 weeks ago that number one, Pelosi would bring the accusations to the Senate. She did that. I predict now that when the vote comes for witnesses, they will have witnesses.
You think they will have witnesses?
And documents, yeah.
Well, again, they're going to acquit the president no matter what. But now yesterday,
that's for sure. They acquit.
But the president.
I think that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but the president did say yesterday that I think he was trying to make some grounds for executive privilege, but he didn't do it well. He said that I'm concerned about Mr. Bolton testifying because he knows the way I think, leaders, he'll talk about leaders, blah, blah, blah. And he would have been better off just to have one of his lawyers say blanket executive privilege and not get into such specifics. A, do you agree with that? And B, you can go forward with your answer, sir.
Yeah, look, he's not a politician, okay? That's his first problem. Second problem is that, he's a little weird. But other than that, when you're in politics, you don't add. And he tends to add, and that's when he gets in trouble.
Say more about don't add. You mean don't expand on stuff?
Yeah, don't expand on stuff because, what happens is you get into a casual moment, and he's always in a relatively casual moment. He's not protective at all of himself. And what you do is, in a normal conversation, I use one word, and then I say to you, I really mean that, and you can't do that in politics. It doesn't come. What happens is they jump on every word. They meaning press, people listening, et cetera, et cetera.
No
and
kidding.
It gets projected. It gets projected. So, and he's a delight. I mean, he's responsible. All these people criticizing him on TV, radio, and so on. And I'm not a fan of his at all. Okay, they wouldn't be there except for him. He's given them content to run for the last 3 years.
Yes, he has.
I mean, without him, just think what was going on without him.
No, I understand. It drives a lot of this show, even though we're mostly local. Absolutely.
Right. And so I think you got to get this played out. I think that the whole thing is going to be damning if you're ever listening to it. I thought the presentations yesterday were incredible. Schiff was incredible.
Well, he was a federal prosecutor, so he should know how to prosecute a case, I should think.
Yeah, but they laid out the chronologically appropriate.
Have a little trouble with that word, Mr. Spano?
yeah, but
chronological.
Every year I have more trouble with more words.
Chronologically. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. I'm going to hell.
I was talking to an older gentleman yesterday, a close friend of mine, and I think it took us twice as long to say the same thing we used to say.
I understand. The other day I'm sitting behind this mic, and I do every once in a while I go through this stuff, account executive, where I know the person I'm talking about. I could see his face. In fact, I'm doing it again. Every once in a while, it'll be a specific person. For example, the guy who was in the White House from the alt-right nut, who was actually the president's political advisor, and he's traveling around. I can't remember his name. It's like my brain, those brain cells have died, and I can't say it. It's awful. Anyway, who was it?
I wanted to talk yesterday about, the car that Volkswagen sells that's a hybrid. It's very popular. I couldn't get Prius out of my mouth.
It's just killing me. I got notes all over the place here. I can't remember anything anymore. God, it's awful. Betty Davis.
But
was
I
like,
think that a couple of things. I've been really thinking about this because
chronologically,
you have an alt left too, and you have the
we
press
sure do
that,
now.
but you have the press and et cetera. I think that Trump is a real danger to our democracy, but I think the significant long-range danger is the alt left.
Thank you.
That's what I've come.
I'm so glad you said that, because I've been looking at, what we do is, when you analyze each show, you try and analyze what themes run through it. And this week, I've been throwing the left under the bus so much that I think they could become mechanics. I mean, if they don't face up to this problem with bail, they're just killing themselves. And what they're doing with the schools, they're killing themselves. Why? Why are they so rigid?
This is because they're human beings. This has always been the same, except no one had the ability, if they were 10 people, to project themselves on a world stage. They do today. So you're hearing from everybody today, and it's and this there's also I always follow a couple of principles. One is that there's action, reaction, synthesis.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that's what we've got right now. I hope we don't have to go to the reaction on the left now, and then wait another 4 or 5 years where we can go to hell.
It's coming to you.
But once again, I look at the '60s. I think the '60s, outside of the fact that the world could go away with this global warming. This is not as bad as the '60s.
No, I often talk about that. However, one thing is worse. In the '60s, we kept a certain distance. In other words, there'd be some crazy left-wing show about a guy he shot a cop 16 times, but he did it because he was a member of the Revolutionary Guard or the principles of whatever. And you could at least half laugh at it. But now you take the far left, and when they target a person, they ruin their lives. And the far left has become so hypocritical that way. They want, with great justification, they want people to have in the schools restorative justice. When it comes to crime, second chances, rightly so, and not judge a person by their past. But yet they'll take a guy, it could be Louis C.K., it could be anyone, it could be a politician that utters a bad word, and they want him dead forever. It's like the old line, one form of tyranny replaces another. They want more. The left right now wants more revenge than they want justice, and it's heartbreaking.
I think we're in a transition now, and I've said this before to you, and that, everyone is moving around in different environments, and we're trying to get it right, and eventually we usually do. I mean, look at the horrendous that we fought a whole civil war.
Yep.
Okay? We had a Reconstruction period that was begun for a short period of time by Lincoln, and then followed by Johnson, who reversed the whole outcome of the Civil War, and we had to live with for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things happen like that. Nothing is set up on earth by, God didn't come down and say, this is what we're going to run the government, the United States is going to be this. It's by human beings, and human beings, they're people that do different things for different reasons and have different motivations. And, with a lot of them, the wiring is screwed up.
Well, boy, I'll say it's 8:46. We're talking with former county executive, now political analyst, Andy Spano. We're talking about the impeachment hearings, but we're also talking raising the bar a little bit and talking a little bit about the culture of the country right now. My biggest concern within this context, but also beyond the business world, even the criminal justice system, is we've become way too cynical. What I mean by cynical is you can't explain that you would do anything for the right reasons. You have to say, well, I would have gotten caught, or it was in my best interest. You don't dare say it was because of principle. Why have our principles been eroding in your view, and for how long have they?
I don't think our principles are eroding. I think there are plenty of people out there that want to do the right thing, that like they're just not together. You know, do you think our parents don't want something for their children? You know, for them to be safe, for them to be.
Of course they do.
Parents well, there are more of them than are leading all these governments.
That's true, but there are more of them that will tell you, "Oh, you're a cop and you are a fireman, and you can get a captain that doesn't do his or her job and put lots of extra overtime in the last 3 years."
No, they're the vocal ones. They're the ones out there. They're the ones talking, etc. It's I don't want to use the word that they used in the '60s, but there's a silent group out there. You know.
Well, I hope. Yeah, go ahead.
When their lives are okay. I did an experiment. I didn't tell you this. I did an experiment for the last 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch any politics. I watched movies. And,
I do that all the time to stay sane. Yeah, go ahead.
I saw my first political thing yesterday. So 2 weeks. So now I'm wandering around completely clueless. And I felt good.
I could have told you that.
I felt good. I mean, my life is nice. I have a decent family life. I have enough money to live. I went out a couple of times. I saw my friends. I had a great life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the normal person, by the way.
I hope so.
That's the person that you want to get to, but you're not getting to. He doesn't see the impeachment. No one talked to me about impeachment in 2 weeks.
Really? So
no one said to me, "Wow," no one talked to me about it.
So I get stuck shaking up the hornet's nest, is what you're telling me.
Well, no, it's you. Yeah, you guys got a little cabal there.
I'm living in a bubble. Yeah, and trust the chronological part of your life is another interesting thing, Andy.
That's a better word, though, isn't it?
I like that. I can invent a whole new language. I can invent a whole new language. So let's talk a little bit about. We'll talk a little more politics. I'll force you to do this. By the way, and you've actually talked me down from the trees a few times. In my 15 years of doing morning radio, it really was starting to get to me. So I took a page out of that book. I wait for the summaries now. I stop watching all the news channels all night. I put on movies. I put on hockey games. I clip my nails. I take long showers, and I wonder why I'm alive. But having said that, who do you think is going to come out? A, what was the Times thinking? And B, who do you think is going to come out of the Democratic Party as nominees?
Oh, good. I thought you were going to ask me about the Super Bowl.
No, that's next week. Although
I think Biden or Bloomberg comes out.
Please say Bloomberg again for me. I love Michael Bloomberg. Well, in this context, I do. But go ahead.
Well, I think he has a shot, and I think he's going to be influential. Okay, in the process, which is his goal, one or the other. He has stated that publicly. So you have that. I think it's going to be a moderate. I don't think it's going to be someone from the left. I know I'm going out on a limb like that because if you put Warren together with Bernie, you got a significant group there. But this is primary.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's moderate, more moderate, and I think they pick a woman. Got to be a woman for vice president.
I think it's going. I think Klobuchar is growing and growing and growing in the minds of people. I think she's going to be the vice presidential nominee under Biden or Bloomberg.
Yeah, well, maybe. I just feel right now it's got to be a woman, and they'll look around, and usually you look around, someone who's going to be appealing, someone's going to bring a state in for you that you normally wouldn't get, She appeals to the Midwest, and that's important. So I think if you put it on a 1 to 10 basis, she could be up there about 8, for that kind of choice. But then you have some good people who have been, like Harris, who could be a great attorney general, that kind of thing. So this is an audition as well as a run for the nomination.
Okay. Well,
so we shall see. But I think the president still has a pathway to win.
Of course he does. Of course he does. I talk to his supporters every day. They really would vote for him if he shot somebody on Fifth Avenue. And
yeah, well, that's the culture he's created. He's created a culture where it really doesn't matter. And he, the very wealthy are very complicit in this process.
Of course they are. They're the ones writing all the checks on all sides.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, they're really except for a few, guys like Gates and so on, who look at this and say, yeah, I have a lot of money, or Bloomberg, but I really should be paying more taxes. You know what I mean? This thing that we have a great economy. Number one, yeah, we have a great economy, but the economy does not translate to a better life for a significant amount of people in the United States because it's not getting to them. The economy isn't the living condition of the individuals in the United States, whether you will go to college or not.
Mm-hmm.
I ask all young waiters and waitresses when they come over, and I say, did you go to college? And let me tell you, about 50% of them went to college.
Oh, yeah.
They can't find jobs.
No kidding.
And they're coming out with $20, $30, $50, $100,000 in debt. They have no way of paying this off. They got $1.5 trillion in college debt, and for what? So our kids come out of college with a ton of stuff on their back, competing with kids from other countries where things are free and so on.
It's interesting. My grandson plays high school hockey, and I was talking with him the other day. He's got a partial scholarship to go play some college hockey. Good for him. He's not going to be a pro, but it'll help pay for his college bills. Decent player. His best friend on the team, who comes from a great family, college-educated family, because that does predict usually what people will do, and he has come right out of the box, this kid. Bright kid says, I'm not going to college. I am going to become an HVAC professional. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to waste his time going to college, or at least in his view. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that attitude is beginning to take some flight.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. You can talk to, and even some of the bigger companies, tech companies, they don't care if you have a college degree. They just want to know you have certificates where you know how to do something.
Well, the problem, too, is the Internet. You got the Internet only looks if you have a college degree. You could be a brain surgeon, but if you didn't get that bachelor's, the computer spits you out. You got to know somebody.
Well, but there are people getting away from that.
I hope so.
And, look at this. I'm on the board of Westchester Community College, okay? I'm the vice chair. And...
Do they know that you can't? Do they know that you can't pronounce chronology?
Chronological.
Chronologically speaking, this is.
I'll never live it down.
No, you're not. This is I'm an obsessed.
You have this tape because if I run for office, they'll bring it up every time.
Trust me, Mr. Chronologically. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, it costs $4,000, to go to Westchester Community College.
And there you go.
Okay.
Yep.
How come they could? How come they do it there for $4,000, and those people go to another? And it's a great school. I want you to know.
I know.
Why wouldn't you go there? And we have to take everybody. There's no entrance exam, right? We got great teachers. We got kids after 2 years graduate and go on to Ivy League schools and so on. So they consider it a good education.
Mm-hmm.
We got agreements with 24-year colleges for scholarships, $20,000 scholarship if you graduate from community college. But And why? And we get a lot of kids after their first year in the 70,000, 60,000, 40,000 college who come to Westchester Community College.
Yep. Am I correct in looking at the community colleges? Are they putting more, for lack of a better word, more vocational things there, like teaching people how to be, let's say, an X-ray technician or an HVAC or a mechanic? Are we bringing that stuff back? Because we need those service industries.
No, and the answer is yes, but we have all levels of education there. But there's a consistent, definite, formal effort to evaluate the needs of the community and of the employers, and what kind of things they need or what skills kids need to get jobs to do whatever. And that's what we put in. We put in certificate programs. We put in degree programs.
That's great.
And it's, when I was county executive, I would bring a company in, and the company would say, we're going to need X number of trained workers. And I would say, okay, what kind of training? I go over to community college. They'd set up a program, and they'd train them.
Well, this is excellent. By the way, before we go, and you probably knew this was coming, and I do have to ask you this question. Does the college provide a speech pathology program?
I really don't know.
Well,
I don't think so.
No, because some people can't pronounce the word chronology, and they may. You walked into it. Thank you, God.
It's not a necessary skill to be on the board of trustees.
Chronologically, I wish.
Oh boy.
I just wanted to know because I thought you could, being on the board, you may be able to get some free help. Oh, my goodness. Andy Spano, it is always a pleasure. And I must say, I should probably send you a check because you keep me sane and you keep me from taking this stuff so seriously that I can't function. Thank you so very much.
You don't send me a check?
No, you've already said you had enough money, and so you can afford that speech program chronologically, of course. The chronology. Hey, we can create a whole new title of stuff. The chronologist.
Do you have Richard Brodsky on at all?
I haven't had Richard on lately. Richard, I got off to. I know he's a very bright guy. Got off to a very wrong foot years ago. But why? What can he do for me besides abuse me?
I'm saying he's an interesting guy.
I know.
You ought to put him on. I mean, he and I have been combating for years, but we're still friendly.
Okay. Did you ever hear my?
I just think he's got good perspectives for you.
Well, okay, but did you know that I threw him under the bus every day for 3 months when he was running for Attorney General? Did you know that? Did you know why? I was covering the.
He was running for Attorney General?
Yeah, he was running for. I think he was in the primaries for AG or one of those jobs. Yeah, or the Comptroller. And this
I want you to understand that the last time there was an open seat for Attorney General way back. And the governor had the right to appoint, for interim term.
Yeah.
He said he was one of the people on the short list. Okay.
Very bright guy.
And one of the guys in the assembly said, "That's really stretching one man, one vote."
All right. Let me tell you how my first encounter with Richard Brodsky went. And now I didn't know his reputation, and I was covering the convention up in. I guess it was up in Rye. I was covering the convention that nominated Andy Spano. Andy Spano, chronologically, of course. That nominated the present governor. And he was running, I think it was for Attorney General, but I could be wrong. It was 10 years ago now. But at any rate, I was in the hallway there, outside of the main room, and I saw Mr. Brodsky. He was an assemblyman, I think, at the time. And I said, "Excuse me, sir, what the F do you want?" Why? I just want to talk to you about being, for running for office. So we do the interview, and he did a fine job, very bright job. And then I said, "Thank you." He says, "All right, now get the bleep out of here." So he forgets, I had a microphone 3 hours a day. So did you ever see the movie The Departed? Great movie. Well, do you remember the scene when I forget the actor, and he's screaming at Leonardo DiCaprio, saying, "You were like two different people." Well, I opened up the show next day with that cut, and I threw him under the bus. And he was so nasty to me. And then when I told people, they said, "What? You're surprised he's like that to everybody? Don't take it personally."
No, but he's writing a column now, weekly for the Times Union.
No
That's pretty
kidding.
good column because I get it, and I thought that I saw him the other day, and we had a delightful conversation. We always disagree, but I just think he's an interesting kind of guy. I always thought of doing a show with him and me. We do a show because.
Well, I don't hold grudges. I'd certainly forgive him, but what's the name of his column? Get the bleep out of here. I will reach out to him. He's a brilliant guy. Everybody tells me he's brilliant. So.
Well, he tells you he's brilliant, then everyone buys it. That's
the
way I see it.
But I don't know. But he needs some prunes. He needs to do something.
He goes after some big time people. I mean, there's a guy who went after the Yankees.
Well, okay, there you go.
And the building in the stadium.
This is probably a guy, when he goes hunting, takes pot shots at the Easter Bunny, for God's sakes.
Well, I think...
There ain't no Santa Claus.
But he's a good guy, and he's a good color for a station.
Well, listen,
That's all I'm saying.
one more time, because no one's ever accused me of not being guilty of overkill. Chronologically, you're due again back on the show next Thursday at 8:35. Andy Spano, thank you so much.
I'm sure that'll be brought up again, right?
It certainly will. This is just the beginning, sir. Listen, thank you so very much, and I'll talk to you next week. Andy Spano, former
take
county.
care. Bye.
All right, thank you. We're going to take a quick break, and at 9:05, 2 minutes from now, we have a very special guest. She's already in the studio. We'll put the camera on her as well. You won't want to miss it. She is from Choice, but more importantly, it's what she does for Choice that is so important. So you stay right there. It would help if I put on my mic. All righty, it is 9:04. We need to take another look at the weather. Now, remember, the weather is brought to you by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, and exclusively by them. They are voted, and they have been voted, one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses, and it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit uhgc.com. 33 now. It's going to get up to 40 today. It's actually 34. It's going to get up to 40, maybe even 43, but it'll average out about 40 or so throughout the day. Tonight, mostly cloudy but dry, lows around 30 degrees. Friday, breaks of sunshine, warmer, and highs around 48. Friday night, mostly cloudy with lows around 35. Now, just a reminder, we may get a spritzer of snow on Saturday, but it'll be so warm it won't stick. If it does, it'll be slushy, and it will melt anyway. And we go into Sunday, mostly cloudy. The high will be 43 degrees. And as we head into the 9 o'clock hour of this program, remember, this is Mornings with Bob Marrone. I am Bob Marrone. This is Radio Westchester, your radio station at the train station. You can watch us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope. We're also on iTunes now. You can download the app MyTuner Radio. Click on my little face, Mornings with Bob Marrone, or click on RadioWestchester.com. You can take us in the car to the space shuttle, on an airplane, or the next time you're at the gym and want to listen to something interesting or not. The top of the hour is brought to you exclusively, also, not exclusively, brought to you additionally by our friends at United Hebrew, top-rated campus of senior care. Visit UHDC.com. Aging Issues Management, the law firm of Payne & Kahn, Plug-in Virtual Reality, and Dominic's Fine Cigars, licensed retailer with a big selection, including Arturo Fuente Padrones and more. Dominic's Fine Cigars, located on Boston Post Road in Larchmont. They're open 7 days. And now you have to get closer to the mic because also, and I want people to see you as I adjust the guest camera. Sorry about the red line in your face. I got to get one of our geeks to fix that, but there you are. Please, if you get a little closer to the mic, and then I'm going to tell people about you. Very special guest. Now this, and I'm going to call you a young lady. I don't know if that's misogynistic or not, but you are a young person, but a talented person at that. Now, Jamila,
Yes.
not Jamala, Jamila Blair, okay, she is the Director of Outreach and Intake at Choice. Now, you know we've added a segment to this program. We do an hour each week about Choice and how they help the homeless, the mentally ill. Now, what makes her very special, at least to me, and I've met her before, is she was a police officer before she turned to helping people in this way. As the Director of Outreach, she's actually the person that leads the team and herself will go out to a homeless person and, for lack of a better word, intercede, recruit, try and get them help. And please, without further ado, please welcome to the broadcast Jamila. It's Blair, right? Did I pronounce it right? Jamila Blair. Get a little closer to the mic. See, you and I have the same problem. We're vertically challenged a little bit. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I want you to speak up a little bit and stay on the mic. I'm going to say hello.
Hello.
I
Good
like
morning.
that. Anyway, thank you so much. You're not shy, are you?
No,
You go out
I'm
and
not.
help people? Good, because I want to fix the camera on you.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm going to come straight to it. I've been told by Guy Fessenden and others that for you, this is almost a sacred mission. Now, you leave the police department to do this. Why are you doing this? Why did you choose this specific role?
Well, I find it to be pretty rewarding to go out and help those that are in need. I mean, we do so much. There's so many people that need our assistance and struggle with homelessness and mental illness. I feel like it's the right thing to do. You know, it doesn't feel like work.
Now, but yet it's very demanding. One of the things we've talked about on this show with Guy and at board meetings, if full disclosure, I'm on your board, is it's very hard to retain people in the position that you have in the area that you run. It's very stressful. But I've also been told you don't see it that way for you. Why not? And then we'll get into what you do each day. Why not?
Just to go out into the community. And, you know, I am a resident in Rochelle of Westchester County. To help those that are in need within our community doesn't feel like it's work, you know. It's just something that to go out and to be able to assist someone with finding housing or there was this one woman who her father and daughter passed away in a fire. We were able to place her in a hotel. Provide her with clothing and flowers.
I just tied myself up.
Sorry.
Don't laugh at me. Oh, my God. This happens. Yeah, I tied myself. I'm better now.
So we were able to provide her with clothing to attend her daughter's funeral and also money to purchase flowers.
Now, was she homeless?
She was. She actually had a fire and that her father and child
What about
passed
the
away.
Red Cross and all of that that's supposed to give support to these people? Didn't they find her a place to live?
Actually, Choice did that
Choice
right
did
away.
that.
Yes, we did. We placed her in a hotel for about maybe 3 or 4 days. Provided her with everything she needed. Actually attended the service, and right after that, she relocated to Georgia, but came back just because of the empathy and compassion that Choice, you know, displayed during that moment.
Let's take it a little bit from cradle to grave. I think that's a wonderful anecdote. Tell us a little bit about you, because you're, again, everyone told us that you're special. We were a police officer first.
Yes.
Right. Now, did you grow up here in New Rochelle?
I did.
You grow up
I did.
Did you always want to be in public service?
Absolutely.
So you chose police work. Now, does the fact that you were an officer, because let's face it, you go out into the streets in some pretty tough areas to deal with the homeless, has that helped you?
Absolutely.
In what way?
Well, I would say, I don't want to say fear, but, you know, with going to the homeless shelters or going to certain areas, I don't have those
Well, the usual concerns that I
Yeah,
would.
yes,
Oh, yeah,
that
that
most
the average.
would.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
you can brag. This is a place where you can brag about yourself. You're not going to be afraid to go in where people are doing drugs. You're not going to be
Correct.
afraid to go into a homeless shelter with a troubled reputation, et cetera, et cetera. You know how to handle yourself.
Absolutely. Also, I would like to say my experience in the military.
You were in the
know,
military as well.
yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, I was stationed in Heidelberg, Germany, and Fort Drum, New York, for 2 years, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Is there anything you've done that's not service? Or didn't you do something bad as a kid? You wanted them. You served your country. You served your police department, and now you're serving the homeless. What's next? Are you going to compete with Mother Teresa for something? What are you doing?
Just trying to be a stand-up citizen. That's
You
it.
really are, aren't
Yeah,
you?
That's it.
So, what did you do in the military?
I was personnel. So,
Personnel.
yes.
Okay. And you spent in Heidelberg and where else? And in Fort Drum.
Yeah.
Where's Fort Drum? Upstate?
Upstate New York, yeah.
Okay. What town? Where was that?
Watertown.
Oh, I had an aunt that worked that come from Watertown.
Yes.
Well, that's real. I used to kid her all the time. That's hillbilly country. You're your own cousin. All right. So you go in the military, you become a police officer, and now you work for Choice.
Yes.
Let's get into, and again, Guy, we've explained to many people what you do. Choice, of course, is located here in New Rochelle, and you work out of the New Rochelle office. So they now have headquarters in White Plains. You're up in Peekskill. And what started out with a handful of people and maybe 100 or 50 clients, you now have 2,000.
Yes,
You head up literally the outreach
I do.
area. Now, we'll talk a little later about being the head of that. But as an operative, how do you initiate? In fact, I used the example with a guy last week. We had a woman who hasn't been here for a few days, by the way, and I'm wondering if someone did intervene. A homeless woman pushes around her cart around the train station, blah, blah, blah. How do you engage that? How do you get your clients? Do you get them by the phone? Do you hear that they're coming out of jail? Do you hear that this homeless shelter has someone who's interested? Or do you see somebody on the streets? Give us the span of how you will find a client.
Well, it's all. If we're out in the street in the community and we see those that are in need of our services, we explain the services to them.
How do you do that? Let's get right into it. I'm right here. I'm sitting right over there by the parking lot here at the train station.
Yes.
I'm crouched down in the corner. I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm filthy. I'm asking for money. And I've been there for several days now. And someone calls you up and says, I think this guy needs help. Do you walk right up to him? Tell us.
Absolutely.
Get right into the nitty-gritty.
So I'll walk up to them with business card, brochure, speak to them, just have a general conversation, let them know that the services we offer.
Get a little close to the mic
Sorry,
if you would.
let
That's
them
okay.
know the
You'll get used to
services
it.
that we offer. Let them look over the brochure.
How will you say it? See, you're giving me the passive voice. Pretend I'm that guy in that corner. What are you going to say to me?
I'm going to say, good morning. How
Okay.
you doing? I'm from Choice.
Hi. What's Choice? What's Choice?
I'm going to say,
By the way, you got a cigarette?
I will say no, I don't.
Okay. All right,
if
go
I
ahead.
did,
No, come on, let's do it.
Yeah. I explain the services that we offer.
Such
the
as?
assistance.
What would you say? Tell me the way you would say it to them.
Say, my name is Jamila Blair. I'm from Choice, and we provide case management services. And I explain
Case
that
management services for what?
assistance.
I
with-
need a sandwich.
Well, I can get you that also, sir. I can get you a sandwich,
I'm
and I would
listening.
probably do that right there on the spot.
I'm listening.
And then I would tell them, we can assist you with finding housing, connection to benefits. Are you currently in a shelter? Would you like to go to one?
Well, I go to the shelter over at Oasis. They throw me out at 5 a.m, and I like it here on the streets. I get a sandwich at the train station, and I sit here and smoke.
And I'd tell him that he could come down to our office where it's located. It's a safe space, warm, and start to gradually work with them from there.
Now, how often will you intervene and they don't want to go?
It isn't too often. to
Okay,
be
so
honest.
in other words, if you get to that person,
Correct.
so I say, okay, I'll come down. Now you'll buy me my sandwich,
Absolutely.
turkey with mustard, by the way. Mayo is too fattening. Okay, so you buy me my turkey sandwich, a nice cup of hot coffee, and you already have a car. I know you guys have cars, so
Yes.
you'll say all right, eat your sandwich and let's go. What will you say next? What will you do next?
If they were willing to come down to
Yes,
our
I'm willing
office.
to come down.
Okay, so we'll bring them down.
And what
Go
happens
over.
next?
Well, we have to screen them and make sure they qualify. Of course, this guy already qualifies. So we start the intake process.
Which is?
About maybe a couple of forms, filling that out, getting basic demographics on them, what their diagnosis is, what benefits they actually
Now,
have.
you mentioned
or
diagnosis.
need.
Are most of these people mentally ill? Not everyone. You had the woman who was in a house fire. Are most people mentally ill or substance abusers?
Quite a few.
Okay, quite a few.
Quite a
So
few.
how do you get them? How do you get to determine? Are they forthcoming about what their issue may or may
Some
not be?
are, some are not. We want to see if they have any physical health conditions because that also qualifies for the services. And if there is nothing that's documented, then we work to getting them to providers because that's most important beyond being homeless. If you have a mental health diagnosis or physical health condition, you need medication. So we'll
So
go through
okay,
those.
I need medication. I am a former schizophrenic, and I need. I'm making up a drug now. I need I don't know, whatever it is, paroxetine or something, which is really not for that. But how do you facilitate that?
Well, we would get them over to a hospital. 'Cause that's how it's going to work to get that to them immediately. Have them evaluated, and they would be prescribed their medication.
Okay, what comes next then? So you get me my medication. You gave me a sandwich. I filled out forms. Now what?
And we get you over to DSS to get you shelter placement.
DSS is Department
Department
of Social
of Social
Services in the
Service.
county.
Correct.
Okay, do you drive me down there too?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be me, but yes, our staff would.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I want you to be in the role of the operative for
Yes.
now, and then we'll get to what it's like
Yeah.
to manage it.
So we would assign them to a case manager. Once they're assigned to the case manager, which usually takes about a day or two, the case manager begins to actively work on their needs. So the first thing is going to be we have the medication done. We're going to get them the housing, shelter placement. And from there, the process of shelter placement, we start to work on other needs, looking for permanent housing. I mean, that process takes some time, but we start to fill out housing applications.
Okay, now in the meantime, if I don't have a shelter,
Yes.
again, in my mock case, I'm already going to Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't have a shelter,
Yes.
okay, how long does it take you to get me in one? And then what do I do in the interim, or I just got to tough it
Well,
out?
that's just a day. You go over to DSS.
You'll find a place.
Yes, and that takes a day for them to get the shelter placement.
Okay. All right. Now, a lot of these shelters put them back out on the street in the morning. There's nothing we can do about that, is there? Because they have to
Unfortunately, no. But they
Until you
do
get
have
them.
Hope, which helps.
What's
Which is
Hope?
Hope is a center for the homeless. It's right across from the Oasis shelter.
Oh, right, over in that church.
Correct.
Okay, because I
Yes.
brought food to them.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So they feed them. They are allowed to watch television. And my outreach team occasionally will go over there. We'll play spades with them. And
No kidding.
yeah, we'll play card games and engage them. Make them feel comfortable. you
Okay,
know?
so now we're going to change my scenario. I didn't have a place.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So theoretically, you take me to DSS, maybe they put me in Oasis, and so I go to Hope maybe during the day.
Correct.
Now, what is going on in terms of benefits, getting housing, and maybe getting my head straight?
The case manager is working on addressing all of those. So they are, again, assisting them with finding with applications, filling out applications, looking for affordable housing that meets their income.
That's got to be tough.
It is very
How long does
challenging.
it take to get people a place to live?
It could be anywhere from, there's some cases it's been 2 months, and others it's taken a year.
Okay. Now, a question. If I was going over to Oasis, you just got me off the street, you're helping, and all I want is a hot shower. Can I get it at Oasis? Where can I just get a hot shower and get started in life?
I believe they do have
Okay,
showers
all
at
right.
the Oasis. And there's also a mobile unit that they have that goes around that provides showers.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Okay, so you're going to be looking at housing. Now, what about my mental health? I know that it takes a long time to get a psychiatrist.
Correct.
Tell us about that wait and what that's like.
I would say that could be anywhere from 15 to 30 days.
30 days.
30 days.
But at
Could
least
be a
you've
little
got them on
longer. Correct.
medication. Now, how often should, and I'm saying they do, how often should they be reporting into their caseworker, or how does that work?
Well, see, if we're looking at the guy is street homeless
Yes.
and has been placed in the shelter,
Right.
and they have no connection to benefits and no providers,
Right.
this is going to be pretty much a case that the case manager may be working with them weekly
Okay.
to ensure that all their needs are being addressed.
Okay.
So it could be from the time they're assigned to that case manager, they could be working with them the entire week
Okay.
to get the basic things in place, and then once a week.
Okay.
And
What about substance abuse? What are we doing for those that have substance
Those
abuse?
that
How do
have-
we get them into a program?
well, we would try to get them into detox first initially, going through detox.
How long does that take to get them in that program?
As long as there's a bed available.
Okay.
So it could be maybe a day or two, depending. So we get them into detox. Then we would connect them to either outpatient or long-term treatment. And it can be challenging, because
Can
once
be.
they're released from detox, you want to make sure that you're right there so they don't relapse, and you're connecting them to the outpatient services or the inpatient.
Now, what are the chances that they're in outpatient services, they go through detox?
Yes.
How much does it matter if they have something to do or a place to live? I mean, if they go right back to the street.
That's big. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
If they don't have somewhere to live, and also going back to what they know, the same people that they are accustomed to, using with. That's a big challenge, and we try to. Once we have someone who is going through an inpatient, we try to relocate them. That kind of works best, but it's not always the case. But keeping additional supports, having them connected to a support group, having them connected to their families.
My God.
Yeah, re-engaging, with families.
Let me remind folks, so we're talking with the Director of Outreach and Intake at Choice, Jamila Blair. She, this is a labor of love for her. Her third public service job. She's been in the military. She's been a cop on the beat, and now the head of intake. And a little later, we'll talk about the program that you do at the jail. Let's talk about the people that work for you. I understand that each has about 40. Their caseload is as high as 40. What's the typical caseload for one of your outreach people?
Oh, for the outreach doesn't provide the case management.
No,
so-
the case
which-
management, I'm
so-
sorry, right.
Right, but our outreach, we bring in about, depending, right now we have about 100 people that we have to look for and locate within the community.
How do you even know to look for them? They've been recommended?
They have been, yes. They've been recommended based on their diagnosis and needs. So we have.
Who tells you that?
Well, we work for Hudson River Healthcare as far as the health home, and they get a list from Department of Health of these members that are identified that have needs, and we get phone numbers, addresses, and sometimes we don't have a phone number or address, and we do a couple of searches trying to locate them and verify the information is correct. We begin to make phone calls and go out into the community.
Of those 100 that you have right now, how
Yes.
many of you realistically will you get in touch with? Will you get to all of them?
We will attempt to get to all of them. We'll make the phone calls
Okay,
and all
how
the
many
efforts.
do you think of that 100 you'll get?
Probably we may engage 50 to 75.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah,
That's
50 to
pretty good.
75.
How many of those will accept the help?
If we engage 75, I would say potentially maybe 50.
Okay.
50 to 40.
And because I know it's diminishing returns, but it still
Yeah.
has to be done. Of that 50, how many are going to stay in the program? How many can you really get on with their lives? And I know a lot of it's go and come. They go back in the
Absolutely.
program, and a lot of them is keeping them, it's an ongoing process. It has no end. But of those, how many will stay in the program, or at least if they leave, come back? How many of them are you going to be helping regularly of that 50?
I would say if the 50 sign up, we're going to help all 50. And the time that they stay would be based on their needs being met. So they could stay with us for a year to 3 years, depending on their needs and how well we've met them. But generally, they stay.
Jamila, your colleagues will often tell me that a lot of these people, their families have even written them off.
Correct.
How are you able to get some of them to repatriate with their families, or is that not a primary mission?
No, it definitely is, and we are able to do that. We are.
How do the families react? Because I know a lot of them have probably been fed up, whether it was drug use or some other mental illness, or particularly personality. I shouldn't say personality, but developmental disorders. They're just very difficult to live with.
I think that to see their family members thrive and make an effort to improve their life makes the families very happy.
What are the hardest cases for you when you do this every day as you do? What are the hardest cases? What are the most difficult?
I would say the most difficult are those that are suffering from mental illness and also substance abuse and not really ready for change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's, let's say the New Year's, that person says, you know, I don't want to live my life like this. And they say, I'm going to take a step to change.
Mm-hmm.
And by the middle of this month, that person is back on the streets.
Why?
And because they've relapsed and
Or they didn't
really
take their
medicine or something like that. And those are the ones that are, you know, most challenging because you're constantly, the case manager is constantly trying to assist a person who's not really fully ready for that assistance.
Now, back when I was in corporate America, I learned just a little bit about this because we always had these different programs for addicts and stuff. And this one guy would come and give a speech at the management classes every week, and he'd talk about the 51% factor. He'd say 51% of them has to want to change or it's not going to happen. That was one theory, if you will, or axe. The other axe was it has to be so bad that they're willing to do anything, even get well. How much truth is there? Not that there's not truth in it, but how operative is that day to day? Because I know there are some people that actually like living on the street, and you're not going to get them off. But how operative is that?
There's, I would say, that our case managers have maybe one or two cases where those people don't want to get off the street.
Okay.
And they may have the 3 cases where the client is not ready for change.
Okay.
You know, and I think the biggest piece is the training, to have the
training?
Training for our case managers.
Yeah.
There's a number of trainings that they actually attend and to understand. And we have a motto: meet someone where they're at. You know. You meet them where they are, and you begin to work with what they're willing to work.
Okay, when you say meet them where they are, is that physical, or just where they are in their life?
It's both. It's both. You meet them where they are. Like if this person is not ready to work on getting out of the street, work on what they are willing to address. If the client is not ready to stop abusing a substance, let's at least help them be safe in their use.
Is there any, that's interesting, because one of the things that I'm learning from you, and even my work on the board, but even from you right now, and from Guy, is it's not where you get, I mean, a lot of cases aren't where you get John Doe or Jane Doe, and one day they're living happily married in a big apartment and totally cured. A lot of it is maintaining.
Correct.
Is keeping them in and out of the program and making sure they get their meds and give them the best life that's possible under the circumstances. Isn't that a fair statement?
It is.
Do you have any low-hanging fruit? I'll tell you what I mean by low-hanging fruit. Maybe there are cases where people weren't mentally ill, or they were not, but depression rears its head. The case where, as you said, the person who was involved with a fire, or the man or woman, they get divorced, they lose their money, they're thrown out of the house, they lose their job, and now they're on the street. How common is, we hear those stories, but the typical case is, you know, someone's been in jail, someone's had a drug problem, someone's had a personality disorder, someone has a drug problem. But how many are actually people just down on their situational luck, and how do you manage that?
Quite often we'll receive a phone call or someone will send an email. And we, again...
just get a little close to the
sorry.
mic. I'm sorry. No, that's okay. You'll get used to it.
So with that person, we will, of course, they want the help, you know, and we walk them through that. We make sure there are supports in place. And most importantly is having that empathy and understanding, you know, because the hardest thing for someone to do, especially someone who has had a home, has worked and been able to provide for themselves.
Hard to accept.
It very much
I'm
is.
telling you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I remember having this conversation with a lawyer once who was dealing with something in my family where, and he was really harsh on the person. And I said, do you realize what this person's doing? They're telling you about an abject failure in their life. A little compassion would be very nice here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's how you deal with that. Now, this gets almost personal. What are the cases that break your heart?
You know, I would say when there are children involved and also seniors. That's just, for me, there was a senior couple, and they probably lived in their apartment for over 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And they actually were evicted because of feeding the neighborhood cats.
Really?
Yes.
They were evicted for that.
They-
Well, why
they
didn't
were
they
evicted
stop
for that.
feeding the cats? I mean, you can make
because
that case.
you know, there's some people that just pet lovers, and that's what they're going to do. And the fact that they couldn't stop feeding those cats, knowing that it was going to risk them being, evicted. That to me is just heartbreaking.
Now they got evicted, but were they on the street?
No. What we did is we placed their furniture and items in storage. After that, we placed them in a hotel. They stayed in a hotel for about 30 days. They did have a decent income, and they were able to uphold that. But shelter placement was not for them. They were not willing to, of course, be placed in a shelter. That was very hard for them to do. So they used their money to live in a hotel, and then after that, they were able to find apartments, and we look for certain, affordable housing. But, after living very comfortable for 20 years, and it was just very challenging for them.
I bet.
Yeah.
What's the most uplifting cases? Do any come to mind? I mean, you mentioned the person with the fire, but do any come to mind? Where's the real reward at times? What kind of case?
Well, there was a man that was a homeless man in New Rochelle. And he had been homeless for maybe 3 or 4 years.
Why?
By choice. Not connected to family, not connected to any benefits. We were able to actually get him reconnected with his family, and I believe it was in Georgia. And his niece was able to come to Choice, actually, because he spent most of his days in Choice. And we were connected with his family, and he moved with the niece to Atlanta, Georgia. So that was very great. We gave him a going away party.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I know there were other services that we're not getting into today. We'll talk about it in the second half of the interview, and then we'll talk about your work with jails and another program that you run. But you get people suits and clothes to go on job interviews and different types of training. You also have a food bank there now where you can help people. We're going to be back with Jamila Blair. She is the Director of Outreach and Intake at Choice, and she also runs the jail program. And we'll be talking about that when we return. We have to take a break. This is Mornings with Bob Marrone. We're in the midst of our long-form interview with Jamila Blair. We'll be back right after a quick update on the weather. Thanks some sponsors, etc. So let's do that as we speak. It is 9:35. Welcome to Radio Westchester, Mornings with Bob Marrone. I'm here with Jamila Blair. We're going to cover the weather right now for you. 34 now, going on its way up to 43 today, maybe averaging out around 40 all day. It's tonight, though, mostly cloudy but dry with lows around 30. Tomorrow, breaks of sunshine, warmer with highs around 48, wind out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy, lows around 35. Saturday, slight chance of sleet or a mix with developing rain in the morning. It'll all melt because the temperature's getting up to 42, and that even makes me wonder as we speak about what your folks do when it rains and they're out in the street during the day. We'll ask about that when we come back. Anyway, Saturday, it'll be gradually clearing skies with lows around 35. Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high around 43. And the weather's brought to you exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses, and it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit UHGC.com. And this bottom of the hour is also brought to you by the United Hebrew of New Rochelle, a top-rated campus of senior care. Visit UHGC.com. Aging Issues Management, their subsidiary, Aging Issues Radio, the law firm of Payne & Kahn, plug-in virtual reality, and Dominic's Fine Cigars, licensed retailer with a big selection, including Arturo Fuente, Padrones, and more. Dominic's Fine Cigars, located on Boston Post Road in Larchmont. They're open 7 days. Now, remember, we will be broadcasting live from Dominic's Fine Cigars when we do our Super Bowl show that Friday before the Super Bowl. And we return now to our interview with this extraordinary young woman, Jamila Blair. She is the Director of Outreach and Intake at Choice. She is also in charge of the jail program. But I couldn't help when I was doing the weather but think of a question to ask her. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming back Jamila Blair. Good morning once again.
Good morning.
Okay, you can speak up. You can yell at me at that mic. Get on that mic. All right, so that's my job to get you on the mic. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, I see homeless people here because of where we are. Mm-hmm. And they sneak into the train station to get warm sometimes, or they go into this, there's a room, a glass door or enclosure down at the end. But what do homeless people do when it rains or when it snows?
To be honest, you may find some in the parking garages, trying to, stay away from the cold or the snow.
It's got to trouble you.
It does. It absolutely does. And, a lot will actually, when it's snowing and raining, go to the shelters.
Okay, they finally will go to the shelters.
They will.
Okay.
A lot will.
All right, let's move on to the jail program, which you also run. Define what it is, and let's get into what's such a troubling issue. A lot of people who go to jail, a lot of it's because of drugs. A lot of it's because of mental illness. I think I've read somewhere, and you'll tell us, 50% of the people in jails, maybe more, suffer from one of those two afflictions. You also have people, and this is, I know, a subtlety, but I'm going to go there. The people that you've been dealing with every day, even aside from the jail program, and the people in jail, almost every single one of them is dealing with a self-image predicated on what they were.
Correct.
And that really erodes motivation. So tell us about the jail program.
Okay. We run a reentry program from Westchester County Jail. We have staff members that are embedded in the jail. They provide case management services within the jail. So from the time, if we have a member that's already currently working with Choice and they become incarcerated, we attend the court appearances.
So you do show up even at the arraignment?
Okay. Yes, we do. We also began to work with them in the jail and still provide the case management, try to connect them with their families. And we began to work on the needs prior to them being released from jail. At the time of release, we pick them up.
How do you know who to pick up? Let's say I go to jail now because I stole half the equipment from the radio station, and they. Now I could, I'm going to go back to my house. I'm going to go back to my family. So it's not me you're interested in.
No,
or you might
definitely. So if you're connected to our services, we receive referrals also within the jail.
So you still might get me.
Yes.
This guy's a wacko that I shouldn't say that, but this guy's got problems. He robbed his radio station and he thinks it's fine.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, you would be referred to us by.
By the way, would you like to
someone
buy a
within the
computer?
jail.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself, Jamila. I have a wonderful board here,
Yeah.
soundboard. Okay, go ahead. Cameras? I got cameras for sale cheap. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, they may need connection to benefits. They may need to look for housing. They may need a ride home.
So who gives you the reference?
It could be they have programs within the jail.
So now so how does it work? Take us through the process.
Okay. So there are mental health providers and social workers within the jail. They could send us a referral. They have a mental health pod that's in the jail. This unit where everyone there has a mental health diagnosis, and we can get referrals from them. It could be from BOCES. They actually have BOCES within the jail.
No kidding.
Yes. They
Okay.
do. Yeah. It could be from any provider. There's a substance abuse program that's there, and they could provide us with a referral. And then also we outreach individually within the jail. So we go to different units and we appear at the, they have an orientation, MA orientation, and we would provide our services there and explain them.
That's pretty good because you're already there. They know where they can go. Now, let's say you get 10 referrals from the jail. Just think of percentages. It could be more or less. How many of those are taking you up on it?
Most of them do.
They do. And
Most
what
do.
service do they take you up on?
Assistance with finding employment, connection to benefits and housing, and even, outpatient treatment.
What's your typical referral from jail? How serious is their crime? What kind of problems generally are you seeing?
It varies. It's county jail, so crimes aren't
All right, you're not
too
right.
serious. But we do receive referrals from prisons also. But their crimes vary. They're misdemeanors.
Stay on the mic,
Probation.
please.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
Probation.
what happens? See,
they're probation violations. Generally, and mostly because of substance use, and they're looking for employment or they're looking for connection to mental health providers and outpatient treatment.
someone who has a quote-unquote criminal record like that, is it more difficult to get them services? Or are the service providers, whether it be Medicaid, mental health, blind to that?
No, it's not that challenging to get
Okay.
the services. It's more challenging, I guess, looking for employment, to find a job. And I think that's pretty much what the barriers that they face. Really, employment is the biggest.
It is the biggest. How do you find jobs? And you've got some people, I don't know that you're going to see that many career criminals, but you've got people that may not be ready for the workforce. How do you get them ready for work, and how do you find them jobs, and what comes before that, substance abuse or whatever?
Well, we actually have a jobs program at Choice.
Cool.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I'm probably not the best person to tell you about
No, but
that.
tell me a little bit about it. I mean, this
so
is
with
not
our
your
jobs-
specialty,
no,
Doc,
I know.
but you're the general practitioner here.
absolutely.
You're referring them
So-
to the job guy or
with,
gal.
Yes, with our jobs program, they work on resume building, also skills. So they identify what skills the member does have. They also have, they familiarize them with computer skills, using the internet, searching for jobs.
I probably need that. Go ahead. You have no idea. You put me on the internet. I apply for a job. They never get the resume. I didn't upload it. It doesn't take that text. Whatever. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Which is very challenging.
Yeah,
and
it really
that's
is.
what we actually
Man.
assist those
I'll be calling you.
members
Go
with.
ahead. Next time I need a job, believe me.
Providing them with clothing for the interview, also going through interview questions. There are some, I believe, that they've actually attended interviews with them. But
How often do you run into someone, because we know it exists, they've been in jail, but you meet them, and they have a true gift, and they've never really been able to use it? That's got to be challenging and fun at the same time.
That happens a lot.
I bet. You know, the example I always, when I first got this may seem like a non sequitur, but it's not. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie or read the book Malcolm X, but there is a character in the movie and in the book, a true story, called West Indian Archie. Now, again, this goes back 50 years when there wasn't a lot for African Americans, but still 70 years even. West Indian Archie was so gifted that he was a bookmaker. He could take bets from hundreds of people, and he didn't get arrested because he didn't have to write it down. He remembered each person, what they bet, how much they bet, what the odds were. Truly, truly gifted. And this is a guy, had he gotten a job in mainstream, might have been a scientist, an accountant, whatever. And I always think about this. You've got some homeless people out there. You've got the movie Beautiful Mind comes to. That guy could have very wound up homeless. How often do you see that?
It's quite a bit in this field.
Okay. Do you, and how do we repatriate someone like that? How do we get them into a community college or whatever the case may be?
It happens a lot.
That's cool.
It does.
That's good. You just made my day.
Yeah. There's a lot of one of the things, education is key. A lot of younger clients have the
I'm going to make you stay on that mic. Teach you be the broadcaster. Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of the younger inmates that are coming out of the county jail or that are homeless, they want education, they want skills, and we are able to connect them to that. We use Access VR, which provides those services, and we will help them apply for financial aid, look for schools.
So do you see a lot of successes from these young people? This is great because you're getting people young. They haven't developed that horrible self-image that makes them want to return to what they did because that's what they believe they are, and even if they're not.
We definitely do. There's a few cases that definitely we see success, and with our program we have what's called graduation. So some people sometimes that once they've actually have met all their needs and they're able to thrive independently within the community, they've graduated, no longer need our services. And there's quite a few success stories with that.
That's great. Yeah. What is the most stubborn? And now let's put it all together. You've got the jail program. You've got people with mental disorders, hard luck, financial problems, drugs. Which is the most intractable? What is the hardest to manage? And as I said, I realize that you may not be achieving the Cinderella story, but you may be achieving a maintenance story. What is the hardest?
I would definitely say the reentry program is the hardest.
Why?
Because there are some people that constantly go back and forth to jail. You work on these needs, they accomplish some things, and maybe for a year, and then something happens, and they're back. You
mentioned earlier about the person returns to the group with which they were using if it's drugs. How much of this is that person goes back to the community and they see an opportunity for a scam, or is that what drives them back to jail because they go back to the same places and the same habits?
It could be, or it just could be, not taking their medication. Not taking their medication, or they start to use maybe something very stressful that they could not, handle happens. And biggest part is probation violations,
How do they violate probe?
Using a substance, not showing up for a program, or, things like that.
Oh, my goodness. All right. We're going to go back to you for a little bit and what you do, and I want you to first tell us about things we haven't asked. But more importantly, I'm on your board because everybody else on the board cares about what happens there. But you have been described as someone who absolutely loves what you do. Now, this is a hard job. You have success, you have failure, you have mediocrity. Mm-hmm. Why do you love this job?
I think it's always success, to be honest with you. That's the thing.
Say more.
If I'm able to provide you with 2 Metro cards to go to an appointment, that's a success.
Yeah, it is.
If I'm able to put you into treatment, maybe I have to do it 3 times. But the fact that you're actually going and getting some form of help and assistance, it's not always about the outcomes, but it's about the effort, and the effort from both sides. You know, if the client is willing to make an effort to get help and assistance, you know, it's a very prideful thing to say, hey, I need help. Most people don't want to raise their hand and say, assist me. You know, so to be at that point where you humble yourself to say, I need a service on our end, we're there to meet you and provide a small service. And it doesn't matter if it's just me getting you in a shelter placement, but maybe we never get to the point of getting you an apartment. I find that to be successful.
Wow. Let's learn a little bit more about you. We know what you did. We know you've been a police officer. We know you've been in the military. Now, before I even get to that, how many hours does this take every day? I know that you get calls after hours. How many hours? What kinds of hours do you put in? Do you ever get called away in the middle of the night?
I have in the past, and sometimes we will receive a phone call at night. Maybe someone was discharged to their home from the hospital,
right?
And they thought the aide would be there. That just happened last week, and the aide wasn't there, and they just want someone to go knock on the door and make sure the person's okay. You know, so those calls do happen, and we'll knock or we'll call and make sure they're okay. Or maybe there's a client that just wants to, just to have a conversation, you know, and let some stress off.
So what are your days like?
9 to 5.
I'm not believing. You know, you lied to me. You know, when you do this, when you interview people all day, you have a good BS me. You just BS'd me, but that's okay.
No,
You
I
did
mean,
it with
sometimes.
love. You know, you did it. You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Now, you listened to some of my interview with Andy Spanel before, and I always have a ball with him, and he keeps me saying, doing the news in the last several years, and I admit to this, has actually affected me, and I have to do other things to keep my equilibrium, things that disappoint me, things that stress me, because I care.
Yeah.
You obviously care. How do you keep your equilibrium? What do you do for fun? Like, I'll go out and shoot hockey pucks, or take my grandson out, or go to a movie, or watch Netflix until my eyeballs pop. What do you do?
Well, Netflix is definitely something that I do now.
Yeah.
I never into television or watching movies, but Netflix now is
Got any
definitely
favorite
caught my-
shows?
I do. I like Crown. I'm waiting for the new season to come out.
Oh, I didn't see that one. What
Yeah.
else do you like?
There's a few. I like the documentaries.
I love,
I
I knew I liked you. I love documentaries. Now, I was following Orange is the New Black for a long time, but with what you do, you don't need to watch that because you do that for a living, and you know, but anything else? So you like documentaries. What about hobbies? What do you do? What do you like to do? What else do you do to stay sane?
I like to hang out with my friends.
Okay, because rumor has it that your hobby is also your work. All right, here's what I want you to do then before we go. You're laughing, and you're laughing in a way that says, who told him about me? That is exactly what you have rats in your company.
I know.
You've been, many dimes have been dropped on your, quarters now, or cell phone calls. What have I not asked you that you want to get out there about choice and about what you do? And tell us how people can use your services.
Well, I would say there's a lot of families that are in need of our services. There's probably someone's friend or, child or parent that could use our services. There is no cost, and there are a lot of people that are struggling with mental illness, substance abuse, which is the biggest, epidemic right now, and we're located throughout Westchester County. It's just a phone call or an email away. We'll show up, sign you up, and actually start to work with you. And I think the biggest piece is our care managers actually really care about the services that they provide and the people they are providing services to. There's sometimes there's people, that they do a job and they really don't care. And you can teach anybody case management, but you can't teach them to care about the
That's
person.
got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know, and you're not a case manager now, but Guy and others have told me that the hardest thing you guys have is keeping case managers because the job is so difficult.
It is.
The ones that are good at it and stay, although some use it as a stepping stone, and that's okay too if they're good at it, what's the difference between those that mail it in and those that really do a good job, and how do we keep them happy? How can we keep them on the job?
Well, I think money is always the biggest thing for anyone.
Well,
You
I know,
know,
and I know
work
they're
on.
working.
We are
Management is
working on
working.
that.
You guys are
Yeah.
working on getting
That's
increasing
always
the pay.
the biggest thing. And those that actually really care about the job and the services they provide, I think if you care, you stay, and what is so unique about Choice is we always identify those that actually care and do a great job and try to keep them. And that's pretty much, I can't,
No,
there's
I
so
think
many, you
you've-
can't
I
really
think
think
you-
of what it,
I think you've really answered it. One last question. How did you find out about Choice? Did you know about them as a police officer? What made you pursue this job that you love?
well,
Stay on the mic.
I was online looking at jobs, and I saw benefits manager. So I used to do health insurance for the city of New Rochelle. I said, oh, this is something I could do. And then I started to research the company, and I said, I never knew that Choice existed. I've lived in New Rochelle all my life, and I didn't know these services were out here. And I'm like, this is great. They can hire me, or I can volunteer, but I'm going to do this job.
You would have volunteered and done this
Absolutely.
for free.
Absolutely.
Is there anything in your past that not that you have to share your whole past, but is there anything in your past that has, like for me, I've always had an interest in the homeless, of course, but I dealt with serious depression many years ago that gave me an appreciation. In fact, one of the chapters in the book I wrote is called Something is Broken.
Right.
I understand the nature of mental illness. You can't help it. And a lot of people don't know that. But what is it in you? What's in your background?
Well, I would say as a police officer, I got a DWI.
You did?
I did. And I don't know if I was going to be terminated, but I resigned. And I think that kind of moves me, because...
Why did it move you?
As to have a DWI, where people probably thought that it would be challenging for me to actually continue to have a quality life and to get employment. Some people counted me out and said,
one
"Hey, it's
DWI?
all." Well,
yeah, but there are two sides to that, if I may.
are.
There is the man or the woman who is an idiot. And what I mean by that is now I rarely drink,
Right.
but every once in a while when I do, okay, and I rarely, I take my grandson hockey, I won't even sip a beer if I have somebody else in the car. Now, like anyone else, every once in a while I've had a beer and got in the car. And every once in a while, some outstanding citizen does something stupid. They get a buzz on and they drive home. And then there's the person who maybe has a problem and doesn't admit it.
That's true.
Now, in the second case, that's a problem, but still, it shouldn't mean the end of your career. But in the first case, that happens to people.
And it does.
What was yours?
What with the?
Did you have a problem with drinking, or did you just do something stupid?
I say both. I mean, both. It was
still
kind of both.
Yeah, but still, your
not to
career
that.
shouldn't be over.
No, but it does. It happens, and that's the consequences that when you get into
And
a
you
situation
decided
like
to
that.
resign.
I did, and to have a criminal record, that could have been a challenge. It wasn't, but I think to those people that you encounter that think that, hey, it's over because of my past, it isn't, and to be able to engage someone and let them know that this doesn't mean it's it for you. You can always come back from those
That's
things.
pretty cool. When I say cool, because again, the phrase I used before is we all have things in our past, and if we become defined by them and that becomes our self-image, it's
Absolutely.
self-limiting.
Yes. Exactly.
Now, was anybody hurt did you have an accident?
I
during
did
your
have an
DWI?
accident. Someone was injured. They were.
Okay, so
Yes.
you had to wear that.
Yes.
You're very candid and very honest. But
Yeah.
beyond that, was there anything else that I mean, knowing that people can come back from a problem?
No, I mean, beyond that, I think that this is, my grandfather was a local activist, and it's just
Is that
something
right?
just something that, you kind of, that's what you see every day. That's what you do.
Is there a Jamila Blair factory where we can manufacture some more of you who are willing to deal with what didn't go well in their lives and go out and want to help people?
I wish, because I need a great staff member.
Oh, you Jamila, I want you to know we're going over, and I rarely do this in the 9 to 10 o'clock segment, but this is, I wrote a note here, as you may see, and I went to grab it in that style of papers. Empathy. You have a lot of empathy.
Yes.
Did you always?
I believe so.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you. This has been wonderful. This has been really enlightening. Her name is Jamila Blair. She is the Director of Outreach and Intake at Choice. She also is the Director of the jail program for Choice. If you would, one more time, tell people how they can get a hold of Choice and use the services.
Absolutely. You can give us a call at 576-0173, or you can go onto our website, choiceofny.org, and inbox us. And please give us a call from 9 to 5.
Yeah, and she'll show up. This is pretty good. I may just call you to go for not a beer, all right, but for a cup of coffee one day. Thank you so much, and more than advertised, it's been a privilege to spend this time with you. Thank you so much. All righty, folks, that slams the lid on things for today. Now, don't forget tomorrow. Tomorrow we always have a special show, and I have the lineup right here in my pile of tricks and fun. Tomorrow we'll be talking about travel with Michaela Guzzi, Vincent Russo at 7:20, Janelle Albritton from the Mount Vernon Post, and also the Mount Vernon County Press. No, not the Mount Vernon, the Westchester County Press. It's not that either. It's the Westchester County Post. Steve Callis, her sports guy, and the sports editor. Jake's Picks at 8 o'clock. Victor Sternberg at 8:35, and a special guest tomorrow to talk about defense, lawyering, and the impeachment process. One of the country's greatest defense lawyers, Murray Richmond, will be with us at 9 o'clock. For everybody here at Radio Westchester, and especially for Jamila Blair, thank you very much for being with us today, and we'll see you all tomorrow.